Oh man, what's really good though, family tree? Let me know that you're up in the building with me. You know what you got to do. Just hit me up with some comments, hit me up with some likes, so I know that everybody's here. I would love for this show to be awesome and interactive. Okay, so today, we've got about an hour, 60 minutes, 9 o'clock or 10 minutes past nine, depending on how I'm feeling. Right. I would love for us to actually discuss this. There is a debate that's going to be taking place on the 7th, I believe, of November between Mohammed Hijab and David Wood himself, right? So it seems as though it's going to be an absolutely awesome debate. I can't wait for this. I want you guys to let me know who's your money on. Who is your money on? Okay, is it on Mohammed Hijab or
No,
it
it
has to
has to
be
be
Wood?
good.
Oh, let me just check something. Okay, so yeah, let me know who's your money on. Is it on Mohammed Hijab or is it on David Wood? Okay, so I know it's going to be a split between my Muslim community and my Christian community. All right, it's going to be a massive split. We're really going to know what the split's about via that. But let me quickly share my screen to show you guys the dun, 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 the promo. So this is kind of it right here with the promo flyer. I know I do have a proper one somewhere, right? But this is it right here. The Great Debate, Trinity or Tawheed. Gonna be extremely awesome. So what I'm gonna do right now is encourage my Christians and my Muslims to come on. Okay, my Christians and my Muslims to actually come onto this panel and let me have your voices heard more than anybody else. Okay, I'm definitely going to be inviting more people onto the panel. So we definitely do want more people. We just doesn't want Christians and Muslims. We do want more people to chime in on this. But fundamentally, this show is dedicated to my Christian community and my Muslim community. Okay. So let me quickly read out your comments right now. So the question was, right, who's your money on? Right. And I know some people go, I don't gamble. I don't gamble. Gambling is wrong. Okay. So who do you think is going to win? Okay. Since I may just have to be politically correct. Let me see if I can just, we're going to go into some great details in a hot minute. This is just the intro to make sure everybody comes in, hits up the like button, shares it with the rest of their friends and their families. Okay, so we got Pio is saying David Wood forever. Helen Back saying David Wood. Go Tetsuke says David Wood. David Wood. Jason Tabbert says Mohammed Hijab got this. I'm in New York as well. I'm going to attend that. All right. David Wood, from what I've heard about him and knowing hijab lies. Wow, David Wood for the win. Hijab will deflect the whole time. Okay, so far we've got near enough everybody saying David Wood, and one person saying Mohammed Hijab. Okay, cool. Uh, uh, okay, cool. So someone says, "Yo, Respect has made 5,000 grand of super chat donations. Check his live stream." Wow. Wow. I told you, I'm on the wrong side. And everybody tells me, Callum, you're doing this for money. And you're getting paid by, Islamophobes. I'm like, fam, like if I want to get paid, if I really want to cash in, I'll just be on like, talking beautifully about Islam and just lying and covering any faults within inside of the Muslim community. They will love that. Okay, so £5,000, I believe, for Aspect is made via super chats. All right. Unfortunately, I'm on the wrong team. I'm on the wrong team. Right. Anytime you want to say that I'm doing this for money, just realize if I really was doing this for money, I'm on the wrong team. But anyways, let me get everybody in so we can discuss this. Okay. So we've got Theo and we have Kellyanne. I'm pretty sure we had Buddha Bing in here as well. So I'm going to invite you guys just to introduce yourselves. Let the family know where you're calling in from as well.
Yeah, hello. This is Kalam. I'm calling in from my area, from Mahalik. Um, yeah, what else I have to say? I think David Wood is quite a good debater. Me myself, I'm not quite a debater, but I think even though Muhammad Hijab, uh, he's very well spoken. I think still David Wood has a lot of knowledge. Will be interesting. I will keep on listening.
Definitely. All right, let's get Theo. Theo.
Yeah, yeah, Lord. No, I just wanted to really and truly, I'm just here to listen if I got something that makes sense and I can chime in. Do you know what I mean? To be honest with you, um, I think Mohammed Hijab is extremely articulate, but my whole thing is that the verification of what he's actually saying for an individual that's non-Arabic speaking, um, is a bit of a tricky one. With David Wood, I'm not too sure about him. I've seen him, but he does a lot of trolling online to a degree. Uh, but yeah, I'm just trying to chime in something that makes sense, really.
All right, perfect. We've also got Pio here as well. Pio, let us know where
Yeah,
you're calling in from and who's your money on.
yeah. Good evening, gentlemen. I'm from Hamburg, Germany. I watched a lot of David Wood's channel, and even I'm not a Christian, I know he is well read on Islam, and I'm sure he will find better argument than the other guy. So yeah, my money is on David Wood.
All right. And you know what? You just, your last videos, well, let me just call your last video. Like that was, has to be one of your best works today. I have to forward you on that. Can you just let everybody know your channel or where they can find your work?
Yeah, my channel is called Pio Chanel too, not channel, because channel is with two N's and Chanel is only with one N. So yeah, if somebody like to join or watch this, I just make soft fun of religion. Yeah, because I'm an atheist. Ooh, this wrong guys, right? Yeah. So if somebody is interesting and in it, yeah, you're welcome to watch it.
Awesome. All right.
And thank you for the promo, Kalam.
No doubt. No doubt. And we've also got Buddha Bing up in the building.
Yo, what's going on?
Man.
My money's on David Wood. I think the correct terminology for Mr. Hijab is going to be janaza.
Yo, oh man, this is all crazy. This is crazy. So everybody is saying David Wood has got this. Nah, I need to get some Muslims on the panel. I need some Muslims on the panel. If you're a Muslim and you're in the panel, type in a quick one. Let me know.
If I may say something, but David Wood was one time at Speaker's Corner and he didn't make a good job. I remember watching videos from Speaker's Corner when he was there, and he wasn't the guy. But I hope if it will came to a one-to-one discussion online, then he will make a better job.
We shall soon see. Now, okay, so we've got David Wood versus Mohammad Hijab. And this is taking place, I believe, at Queen's College in New York on the 7th of November. The great debate, Trinity or Tawheed? I wonder. I actually do wonder. So we've got these two great, phenomenal, how can I put it? Intellectuals. And I say that with some reservation, but we have two, massive intellectuals via social media. Okay. And I'm thinking about this. I'm really thinking about this. To be honest with you, we know David Wood's work. We know his workload. And I think, to be honest with you, David Wood should technically have this in the bag, right? He should definitely have this in the bag. But, in the same rate, we do have Mohammad Hijab. And the one thing that kind has Mohammad Hijab in a favorable position is his ability to read, speak, and understand Arabic, whereas David Wood isn't at that advantage, right? And we know that Mohammad Hijab is one of the greatest sophists to have ever graced this planet in the 21st century. One of the greatest sophists in the world. I have to put it out there. So with his ability to talk slick, he has the ability to bamboozle a lot of people. But we'll see. We shall actually see. So let me get this in, man. Let me get this in, family. I would love for you guys to join us right now.
Yeah. Will he have his gum shield in, though? That's the one I want to know. That's a big question.
Listen, it's not, if you're going out to America, yeah, forget the gum shield. You need to have some what's that thing called? That vest. You need a bulletproof vest.
Bulletproof vest.
Yeah. We don't play that, homie. We don't play that. Yeah, we don't play that around here, baby.
I mean, what Mohammad Hijab is capable of, for sure, is to talk and talk and talk and diversing topics and stuff. So he's very good at talking. But I think if it will come to some true statements or arguments from the Quran and stuff, I don't think he will be able to meet David Wood. But that's my opinion.
I'm with you. Let me give a quick shout out to the family member that's tuned in right now. We've got Later for Christ says, right, Kalam, I live in Philly. It's crazy, bro. I know. We've also got the champion himself, Big Bro Heavyweight, up in the building with us right now. Salute to you, King. And of course, we got the fire god himself, Sarah Garvey. Jeez. Yeah, I know it's going to be crazy. All right, Mikius. All right, we got David Hudson, Paul Moses, Lee Smith. How are ya? Come on, family. Let's see if we can get you guys to come in and join us, okay? I want to have a discussion on this, all right? And I really want some Christians and some Muslims to come on. This show is only going to last for an hour. We've already got in like 12 minutes deep already, so I'm not trying to spend too much time on this. I'm giving too much oxygen to these individuals, or should I say to this one individual. So yeah, come on in, family. Come on in. Let's have some fun. All right.
Are you going to do a show after this, or is this the only show for tonight?
I don't have any topics to really talk on.
Can I put forward a topic?
Go ahead.
Alchemy.
Alchemy. Okay. I'll see. All right.
Alchemy is not chemistry, right?
Yeah. So later on, family, after this is finished, maybe we can wrap this up early and do this within half an hour, okay? And then for the next half an hour, we can discuss alchemy. So I like that. Anybody who would like to come in and discuss alchemy?
Callum,
hold on 1 second. Especially Rich Kid, if you're in the building, yeah, let us know, man. I expect to see up in here as well. God damn, gang. All right, go ahead, Buddha.
Did you manage to figure out the Discord YouTube link thing? Have you managed to sort that out, or?
The Discord YouTube link thing? What do you mean?
Are you able to link the YouTube to the Discord so the people in Discord?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I haven't actually tried. You know, I should actually. I could do this right now. Go on.
The alchemy thing would be good to bring in the Discord, but I don't know if anyone's on there at the moment. That's the only thing.
Yeah.
It should be, but check out.
Yeah. I think we may have to try to do it another time.
Cool.
The way I want to do it, we would need another time to start a new show. So let's not even try right now. Oh man. Okay, so we're talking about Tawheed and Trinity. Is anybody here know exactly what we're talking about? Does anybody here know what the Tawheed is and what Trinity is, by the way?
I know what Trinity is. What's the Tawheed?
Exactly will be my question.
Okay. Man like Rich Kid. All right, there's a link, G. So yeah, well, later on we're going to be talking about alchemy. So we're going to just long this out for the next 15 to 20 minutes, and then afterwards we'll jump on and we'll discuss it. So you know what? Let's do this like this. Let me actually, instead of giving you what I know it is, let's see what we can find online. Okay. So Tawheed.
And I will try to throw something in. I understand the Trinity from the Unitarian perspective, not from the Trinitarian perspective.
Okay.
So I accept it. I accept the concept.
All right, we're gonna do that in a minute. Let me get you.
Okay.
Let's get the both of them out there. Okay, so we're gonna just do a quick Wikipedia search. Nothing too intensive. I could pull up, loads of these, Sunni, little Sunnah books, but I choose not to. I want to keep it nice and simple that everybody can just quickly type in on Google what it is and get a basic understanding. Okay, so it says here Tawheed, oneness of, also romanized as Tawheed, Tawheed, is the indivisible oneness concept of monotheism in Islam. Tawheed is the religion's central and single most important concept upon which Muslims' entire faith rests. It unequivocal holds that God is one, ahad, and single, al-wahid. Therefore, the Islamic belief is God is considered Unitarian. Okay, Unitarian. All right, let's quickly go into the etymology, and then that's it. Yeah, let's do that. According to Edward Lane's lexicon on classical Arabic, Tawheed is an infinite noun that means he asserted or declared God to be one. He asserted, declared, or preferred belief in the unity of God, and is derived from the Arabic verb wahda, which means he made it one or called it one. In modern Arabic, the verbs wahda, yuwahidu, means to unite or bring together, something that which wasn't one, which reflects the struggle of monotheism against polytheism, right? So that's that. That's Tawheed. And then let's do that. Trinity. Okay. And the definition for Trinity is, goddamn, it's a longer one. It says here, the Christian doctrine of the Trinity, Trinitas, triad, Trinus, threefold, holds that God is one, but three co-eternal, co-substantial persons or hypostasis, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, as one God in three divine persons. The three persons are distinct, yet are one substance, essence, or nature. In this context, a nature is what one is, whereas a person is who one is. Sometimes differing views are referred to as non-Trinitarian. Okay, so that's basically the definition of Trinity. And the etymology of it is the word Trinity is derived from Latin trinitas, meaning the number three, a triad tri. This abstract noun is formed from the adjective trinus, tree, each, threefold, triple, as the word unitas is the abstract noun formed from unus, one. The corresponding word in Greek is trias, meaning a set of three or number three. The first recorded use of this Greek word in Christian theology was by Theophilus of Antioch in about the year 170 AD. He wrote, in like manner also, the 3 days which were before the luminaries are types of the Trinity of God, and his word and his wisdom. And the fourth is the type of man who needs light, that so there may be God, the word, wisdom, man. Tertullian, a Latin theologian who wrote in the early 3rd century, is credited as being the first to use the Latin words Trinity, persons and substance, to explain that the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit are three personae una substantia. While personae is often translated as persons, the Latin word personae is better understood as referring to roles as opposed to individual centers of consciousness. All right. So hopefully, okay, that was a brief understanding into what the terms Tawheed and Trinity means. But before we continue, I would love for you guys, okay, to hit up the like button. All right, hit up the like button. We've got 27 people hitting the like button. Okay, with over 140 people tuned in right now. That means we have a lot of people here who are just here to either hate, i.e., hit the dislike button, or we've got a lot of people here that's just watching for the sake of watching without expressing how they feel about the show or how they feel about Titans TV. So if you're here to support Titans TV and you love being informed on great topics, please hit up the like button. Show your love and support, family. Show your love and support. And if you're here to hate and disparage us, you know what you need to do. Just quickly hit the dislike button. And I always ask you, if you dislike something, let us know in the comment section what exactly you dislike. Otherwise, it just seems as though you're hating. So instead of hating, just say, I dislike it for such and such a reason. We appreciate it. We love feedback. All right. So yeah, let's get everybody in and start talking. Does everybody understand the concepts of Trinity and Tawheed? Yay or nay?
Yay.
Yay. But I told you different, because you read the definition, right? And you the definition says about Trinitarian, and I met a lot of Christians who will claim they are Unitarian, like they believe in one, not in three, because there are not three persons, there are three essences of this God. So they are one. And then I also met Christians who say, oh, we are Trinitarian. And then I will give right to Muslims who claim, oh, people believe in three gods.
Okay. Yeah. I would say real quickly, the Trinity believers, they definitely Christians, or the Trinity concept, which is not unique to Christianity, by the way. But the Trinity concept is definitely the belief in, or the belief or acknowledgement of one God. Okay, one God with one nature, but has three different hypostases or three different distinct roles and functions. Okay, so one God, one God, one essence, but manifests itself in three different roles, or personas or hypostasis. That is the Trinity right there. Not three gods, not three different gods, 1 + 1 + 1, but one God with three different personifications. And that's about it. Let's get it. Let's get it, family.
Kalam, can you explain them what Tawheed is? I want to know.
Yeah, Tawheed. Okay. Okay, do you want the controversial explanation of Tawheed, or do you want the, you know?
Yeah, just go ahead. You can make a quality, give a quality explanation or quantity. It's up to you.
Okay, so Tawheed, according to Ahlul Sunnah, is basically the acknowledgement of one God, one deity that has three different categories. Funnily enough, right? Like they cuss the Trinity, but they have one concept of God, but it's subdivided into three different how can I put it, functions, or three different roles, or three different um, categories, so to speak. So the first category is considered to be called rububiya, or the lordship of God. Okay, and then you have the second category, which is al-alawiya, or uliya. Okay, which means the worship of God. Okay, or its godship, basically. And then you got a third category, which is known as asma wa sifat, which is known as the names and attributes of God. In order to understand Tawheed, one must understand all three. You must understand Allah's lordship, his godship, and his names and attributes. And all three of those things make up Tawheed, right? But if you're deficient in just one of those things, you may fall into the opposite of Tawheed, which is shirk, i.e., binding partners with God. So that is a basic understanding, I would say, of Tawheed.
All right, thanks, man.
But my controversial thing is, okay, Tawheed literally means the unification, or to make something one. That means the thing itself wasn't originally one, if you're going to make it one, right? So then how many of the other things are there that you're now combining to make one?
Can I ask this maybe, and maybe it has nothing to do with Islam or Christianity, but maybe more with Kemet. And I don't know much about it, but I heard somebody told me about Akhenaton, or Akhenaton, I don't know. And he tried to do the same. He had similar plans to make, to get rid of all the gods and make it just the Unitarian worship. Am I right, or am I wrong about this?
Well, that is stated that's what he did. I don't think that is a correct understanding of what he did do, though. But I could be debated on this. So most Egyptologists, a lot of Egyptologists try to put forward the argument that he brought about monotheism. I would suggest that he didn't actually bring about monotheism in that respect. He brought about monotheistic characteristic, or a monotheistic expression, meaning I want to destroy or go against any rivalry that is perceived within inside of the empire of Kemet. So within inside of the Kemetic school of thought, there was loads of different, how can I put it, cosmological, therefore theological doctrines, okay, and schools of thoughts. So what he intended to do was to bring forth this the Aten school of thought. All right. So he wanted to make his Aten school of thought the more supreme one and destroy others, okay, and downgrade the other schools of thought. So it's similar to what religion does in terms of the Abrahamic faiths, where they say, you know, our God is the only way, and you know, other rivalry gods needs to be, you know, destroyed and demolished. That is the only symmetry I can say with monotheism. But of course, there was loads of divine principles still within inside of the Aten school of thought.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, buddy. All right, come on, family, jump in. All right, maybe both camps, Islam, Tawheed, and Christianity, Trinity, Unitarian concepts of oneness, may be alluding to one essence. Yeah, buddy. All right, come on, family. You're mighty quiet. Mighty quiet.
A quick question, Kalam. So you're not saying that, or what you're actually talking about, you're not saying that because they believe that there's only one God, then that is the way, and that everyone should accept it, because in ancient time people always believed that there were many gods. And for the mere fact that you're saying that there's only one God, then you need to name that one God, because God is a generic term. I don't understand what you mean by that.
Okay, so for me, we were talking about Akhenaten and what he did, right? So previously, Akhenaten, you know, was part of the mainstream, you know, like appreciative of the diversity of the Kemetic pantheon, so to speak. Okay. But because there were certain priests or priesthoods or schools of thought that were becoming very powerful, he attempted to crush those different schools and set up his own Aten school, or his own realization of the deity or the divine principle of the Atun. Okay. And he attempted to, how can I put it, demolish and downgrade the other schools, okay, and not allow them to be as inclusive as they used to be in his new school of thought, set up in Amana. Is it Amana? Is it Amana? That region? What's that region called again? Is it Amana?
Yeah, Amana. Yeah, Amana.
Amana. But of course, still within inside of his Aten school of thought, right? There were loads of divine principles still within it. Okay, still within it. So it was still multiplicity that was actually there. But for some strange reason, Egyptologists called it monotheism, when it still wasn't monotheism. It just had the characteristics of monotheism, i.e., trying to put at the forefront this one supreme deity and you know, go against anything that rivaled it.
Indeed, but I think the problem I have with that, I understand what you're saying, is that sometimes when you talk to Muslims and they're saying, you know, there's only one God, and you know, Christians, there's only one God, and you go, okay, well, according to them, he was the one who first brought in the worship of one God, but they won't accept that, because they will see the God that he worshipped is not the God that they worship. So by proxy, we're saying, well, there must be many gods then, and then you must just choose one of the gods that you think is the true God. You understand? But how do we know that's the true God that you chose? That's my problem.
Can I chime in here? I think they're operating from the premise that there are no other gods. Do you know what I mean? Like, they're operating from the premise that you know, the assumption or whatever that there are no other gods. There's only the God. Do you know? That's so they wouldn't acknowledge any other god. So if there's a statue or something like that, or someone's worshipping, I don't know, God of wisdom or whatever, like they they'd be like, okay, it might be beautiful, or some may say it's beautiful, some will say it's shirk or whatever, but that God of wisdom does not exist in their mind.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah, I would like to say something to it too, because the funny thing is they refer their God, or they say it's the God of Abraham and Moses and stuff, right? And even in the Old Testament, or if you would ask, for example, Hebrew Israelites, they will tell you the name of the God was El, not Elohim, El. So Elohim, there are many gods. And if you trace, or how can I say it? In the Old Testament, the God was also called Yahweh. And if you go back, not the biblical way, like just a historian way, which are dealing with facts and when people discover history, right? You can trace this Yahweh God to the Phoenicians, and they had already this God Yahweh, and he had a brother and a wife. So I cannot understand when Muslims are claiming our God is the God of Abraham and Moses, and we can trace it back that the God of Abraham and Moses had a brother, Baal, oh, I don't know if you pronounce it like that, and a wife. How can they claim that is only one God? Because we know from the history there are more than one. There are many gods. So I don't understand this claim.
Yeah, I think they circumvent that by just saying that, you know, the Bible's corrupted and the first, you know, the text that only counts is the Quran, essentially. So that rules out, you know, books on history or older philosophies or older religious scriptures. And that is the template for truth moving outwards, if that makes sense. So the mention of your, yeah, go ahead.
No. If you mean the Bible was corrupted and there were changed, blah, 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 you have to show me where. But this will be a...
Well, it's not something...
It doesn't matter because what I meant, those gods existed before Judaism, like the God Yahweh. And he was the God of Moses and Abraham. And if you trace him back to the Phoenicians, there were two gods and a wife, or three, and then there were three gods.
Yeah, but within their narrative, essentially, that, you know, like a simple reply to that could be just, they just made shirk, do you know what I mean? And they just started, just like Moses and the calf, and they just started to make idols, and, you know, but really and truly, the real God was always Yahweh, or that one divine being, if that makes sense. But that's only coming from their narrative, if you accept that.
Yeah. I cannot agree to you, and I can disagree to you because I know that the Jews, before they were monotheistic, they believed also in many gods. And if you go to a rabbi or something and ask him, he would admit that there was a time that the Jews believed in many gods. If you go with the history, like archaeology, yeah, and you will find the Yahweh God, and you will find them at the Phoenicians, and the Phoenicians had many gods. So my point is, how can someone claim we believe in the same God, which was the God of Abraham and Moses, when they know the God of Abraham and Moses, there were many gods, not only one. So I find it a little bit, yeah, suspicious, or the people didn't know about this stuff.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good reply as well, and I think that I just want to state that I'm not really taking a position. It's just that we don't really have any Muslims that are coming out on the panel, so I just thought let me try and come back with a counter response or something of that nature. But yeah, no, that's a fair point.
By their own literature, you can see that there's two different gods. The God of the Bible and the God of the Quran are two different deities. Even though you'll hear Muslims say that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the God of the Bible, Jehovah, but you would never get any self-respecting Jew who say that Allah is Jehovah. So by proxy, there is two gods. They just need to give us a working definition of what God is.
I will agree to you if there are really two different gods, then I will understand it. I just don't understand the claim from the Muslims when they claim, oh, this is the same God. Because, as you said, I would say they were not the same gods. There was something different. Yeah.
I also want to add to that as well that I think, when you look into the details, so you were talking about the Phoenicians and Yahweh having a wife or a sister. I can't remember which one you said, but that's
a brother and a wife. That's the point.
Okay. And but when you go into but that's you looking at the details, looking at history essentially. But when you just take the book as the criteria and you don't go beyond that, and that is the ultimate criteria for your truth, and then you proceed from there, then you're stuck, or that wouldn't even be allowed to enter your paradigm without removing the underlying assumption.
Yeah, if nobody speaks, then let me speak now. So, what I've heard, for example, that in the triad aspect is actually dating back to also Babylonian triads. Actually, they had moon god Sim, Shamash, and Ishtar. I think that quite refers also if there's a concept of God having a brother and sister. I mean, Ishtar was actually uh, Astarte. She was a goddess. It's the same concept you can find back in Osiris, Isis, and Horus, actually. So it's sometimes good to distinguish, like, what did they rely to, and what is actually real about this, because people trying to fuse it as something that is truth. However, that happened in history, things being added that used to have a different meaning, but people gave another meaning to it. So as for that, I think that's what happened.
Yo, all right. So listen, can somebody explain this to me? Apparently Allah had two daughters. Where does this story come from? Is there any kind of truth to this story, or what's that about? Because that would indicate that if he had a daughter, he had a wife. He had a wife. You know, anyone got any information on that?
Yeah, we need definitely some Muslim brothers here.
Unless Kalam can answer that. I've never really heard of that before.
Oh man, y'all always want me to drop the knowledge.
That's what you are, man.
Yeah, Allah had well, either three daughters or two daughters and a wife. I was just about to go and grab some food as well, you know. Let me see, what can I do real quickly? Let me type this up. Alat, Manat, and El Uza. Okay, let me do that. Alat. Alat. What else did I say? Alat, El Uza, and Manat. There we go. So let me share my screen. All right. And where are we? Let's get a quick Quran verse. Surah 53, 19 to 23. 53, quite possibly. Okay, so let's take that over. 53.
You're not sharing your screen until now.
You're logged in like twice, Kalam, I think.
Yeah, I know, because I logged on my computer so I can go and get some food, but you lot just quickly
Okay.
tried to call me, you know?
yeah. I can see your screen down.
Oh man. All right, cool. So it says here, so have you considered Alat al Uzza and the third, Manat, the other? Is the male and female? No, this is not the one. Do sons belong to daughters? No, come on, where is it? Nope, this ain't the one. Give me a second. Let's see, 85? 89, 5. Let's see if that is it. 89, 5. Bear with me, right? Because I'm just doing this on the fly, right? A quick fly. Let's see, 6. Have you considered how your Lord dealt with blah, blah, blah? Nah, where is it then?
Is that the Quran, Kalam, or is that Hadith?
Nah, this is the Quran. It's all in the Quran.
It looks like to me, Kalam's doing some tequila right about now, you know.
Easy. Easy.
Yeah, it sounded a bit terrible. I'll agree.
Oh, sugar. What's going on? Let's quickly see. Where is it talked about? Like, oh man, I'm trying to do this real quickly, you know.
So
Man,
where I know it from is the Quranic verses. You know, when the prophet was like, he thought that these demons were the daughters of Allah. I don't know if that's any help.
yeah, but do you have the verse?
Bruv, I don't know about them, but no, I don't have a verse. So he went to the cave and he was frightened. I don't know what that verse is. We need to kill. What she'd know.
It might be. It might be actually. I think it's Have you seen Alat al Uzza Manat Satan's is Okay, but it's in the Quran somewhere. I'm trying to get some food, family, and you lot are trying to draw me out for this.
Go get your food by then. A Muslim will come.
Do your thing.
No. You know, I'm not allowed to go until I've got it right.
Okay, go on.
Okay. And thus they ascribe daughters unto God, who is limitless in glory, whereas for themselves they would choose if they could only what they desire. 1657. Okay, and they assign daughters. Okay, cool. 1657. That should be it. 1657. Okay, and they attribute to Allah daughters. Exalted is He for what they used to say or what they desire. Okay, so that's it right there. But that you got to do better than that, though. Where's the names of the daughters at least? Okay, so let's just see what the Quran actually says, word for word. And they, Allah, daughters, glory to Him, and for them what they desire, and when the good is okay, cool. But yeah, somewhere in the Quran, like this is it, kind of saying, you know, He has daughters. These are the people at the time. Real quickly, so the Quraysh, which were they considered to be the pagans at the time, said that Allah had daughters. And I believe Allah's daughters would have been Manat and Al-Uzza. Manat and Al-Uzza would have been the daughters of Allah. And of course, Alat would have been his wife. Okay. So you got Alat, the wife of Allah, and then his two daughters, Manat and Al-Uzza. So, you know, that is made mention inside of the Quran. But if you go outside of the Quran, and I believe it is in the Book of Idols by Ibn Kalbi, he breaks down the daughters of Allah in there, I believe. Let's see if we can quickly find it. Book of Idols. Book of Idols. And it's possibly in here somewhere. Here we go. Alat, okay, as their goddess, blah blah blah. She was a cubic rock beside which a certain Jews to do offerings. They named their children Zayd Alat and so forth. Let's see. Let's see.
Someone said you're looking for 53, 1923 Kalam. I don't know if that's
Yeah, it's mentioned in there, but it doesn't explicitly say that they're his daughters, though.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's in there. We read it out a little bit earlier on, but it doesn't specifically say that they're his daughters. So I was
Oh.
looking for the one that explicitly just says, "Yeah, these are the daughters of Allah." That would just make life a lot easier.
Well, what is there any objections brought against that text?
I don't think so. I don't think there is, unless somebody wants to say something. But I like just being clear as day, so there ain't no wiggle room. You know, in ways there.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Well, that's interesting.
So what we're saying here is Allah had two daughters and a wife, as specified by the Quran. Is that right?
Yeah, it says here these were also called. So yeah, I think three of them, all three of them, I believe. Then these were also called the daughters of Allah and were supposed to intercede before God. When the apostle of God was sent, God revealed unto him the following: Have you seen Alat, Al Uzza, and Manah, the third idols besides? What shall you have, male progeny and God female? This indeed were an unfair partition. These are mere names. Ye and your fathers named them. Thus God hath not sent down any warranty in their regard. The Quraysh is dedicated to it, a value of Qurad and so forth. So yeah, supposedly these three were the daughters of Allah, but to my reckoning, I believe it was only two of them that was considered to be the daughters of Allah, but possibly the third. So Baalat, Al Uzza, and Manat the third. But my reckoning, I believe, is Al Uzza and Manat is supposed to be his daughters, and Alat is supposed to be his wife. And then the Quran talks about, you know, like what? So you have male progeny, and then what? God has female daughters, like progeny. All right, this is unfair. So the early Quraysh at the time, whenever they heard Allah, Allah was part of their supposed pagan pantheon, right? Where he had a daughter, he had daughters, he had wives, and so forth. But with Muhammad's religion of Islam, okay, or his continuation of Christianity, um, Allah can't have any daughters. It's not befitting of His Majesty to have daughters.
So why was it said? Why was it said in the Quran that he did have daughters, and then at a later stage now, he can't have any daughters?
And furthermore, if it's the divine word of God that is the Quran, how can it be changed?
Okay, so no, the Quran is basically saying that you call them. So the Quran is trying to refute basically. So the Quran is basically saying, you know what, like you're calling them, like the normal folks say that Allah has daughters, Allah has a wife, and so forth. But like it's far beyond Allah to actually have daughters. You guys have basically made this up. Okay, you guys are the ones that have made this up. Allah can't have daughters. It's something that your ancestors basically created names and attributed it to Allah, but Allah never gave you the dispensation to say that He has wives and He has daughters.
So the Quran is verifying that Allah existed before the Quran, yeah, and was worshipped before the Quran.
Say again.
So the Quran is verifying that Allah existed before the Quran and was worshipped before the Quran, correct?
Of course, He's definitely confirming that.
Okay. And what that form of worship of Allah before the Quran, was that Islam as well, or what was that known by?
So they talk about. So you got the pagans that worshipped Allah, okay, and then you have the Christians that supposedly worshipped Allah, and then you also had the Jews at the time that supposedly worshipped Allah, And then you have the Sabians or the Hanafi that also worship Allah supposedly.
Okay, interesting.
Even the father of Muhammad was already called blah blah blah, even Allah. So he was already Allah worshipper.
Yep, he was definitely an Allah worshipper. And it's one could surmise that he was quite possibly a Christian. Quite possibly. And before anybody asks me, like, why did you say that, Kalam? If you go and read the Syria literature, you'll find him actually going to a cave, or I say cave, yeah, cave, cell, whatever it is, and visiting a Christian monk who told him that his son would actually be somebody great. His son would be a prophet. So this is within side of their own hadith or Syria literature. You have
Whose son, bro?
Sorry?
Whose son?
Abdullah's son, Muhammad.
So Abdullah was
So
alive during the time of the Prophet.
Yep. When he was born, Abdullah was alive, and he went to go and visit a Christian monk, according to one of the stories within inside of the Syria literature. And yeah, the monk informed him that this is the child that we've been waiting for.
Yeah, man. Put down the screenshot, man. Let's check that out.
Oh god damn! Y'all want me to work, man?
Vegeta, you'll have to do that a bit later, man. He's got to eat his food and everything there. So,
I just wanted to ask Vegeta a quick question. Did you hear when Kalam was reading that about the daughters of Allah? Is that true? Does Allah have daughters?
No daughters, man. What are you talking about, bro?
No, I'm just asking the question.
Nah, God don't have no daughters, man. This ain't Christianity, man. This is Islam.
Where did that
this
text
ain't
come from? About...
This is Islam.
Okay, so where did
God
that
don't have no daughters, bro.
Hold on. Before you say it's not Christianity, it's not Kemet.
Who's talking?
Huh?
Who's talking, bro? Sorry.
Buddha is here. Buddha. So
Buddha, my brother. So
what's going on? So it does mention it in the Quran. That's why we're talking about it. It's not like we just made it up and you know what I mean.
Yeah, the Quran tells you exactly what it is, isn't it?
Okay, so
the Quran tells you this ain't Christianity, bro. This ain't Kemet. That's what the Quran is telling you. This is the true message.
Okay. Yeah, but what does it say about his daughters? What did it say about that?
Yeah, them Jews are making up some fairy tales, innit?
The who?
Making up hoaxes. Them Jews.
Okay.
And then the Yehud.
No, explain it to me because I'm not sure what you're talking about.
We read from
Who's
the
talking?
Quran.
Who's talking now, man? Who's talking?
Okay, it was me. Just explain it to me, Vegeta, because I'm not asking.
Nah, there was an Arnold Schwarzenegger sounding guy at the background, man. Some Terminator 2 guy. Who's that?
That's Mr. P.O. Mr. P.O.'s cool.
Yo, P.O., what's up, man, bro?
I'm sorry. Let's go back to the topic because
This guy's Android 16, bro. What's happening?
We'll phrase it. We read in the Quran about the daughters of Allah. So the question was to you, if you believe in this or you agreeing with it or whatsoever.
Man, I agree with the Quran, man. The Quran tells you this ain't Kemet, this ain't Christian, this is Islam. The true message. That's what it's telling you, bro.
This was not the question. This was not the question. The question was that the Quran is telling us about the daughters of Allah.
Listen, blood. Go and pull that verse out. Go and get it. Go and get the verse.
I think what Kalam was saying is that the Quran is refuting the daughters of Allah because Allah was worshipped before the Quran. And at that point, they attributed daughters and a wife to him. So when the Quran came along, it kind of specified that Allah didn't have any daughters or a wife. From what I understood of what Kalam was saying, I may be wrong, but that's what I understood. But what's interesting is that Allah was worshipped before the Quran. So prior to Islam existing, Allah was a pagan god, which is kind of interesting because they talk about the monotheistic type God status of Allah, but clearly, if it is the one and same Allah we're talking about,
Buddha, you was doing well until you said pagan god, man.
Well, it was. Allah was a pagan god before.
Based
If
upon
it was,
what, blood?
sorry.
Based upon what? If you go in
Because
the Quran, it talks about the pagans. They
yeah,
used to believe in Allah as a Lord.
yeah, that's what I just said.
Yeah,
I just said that.
but not as a pagan god,
But
as
no,
the god. And
Yeah,
all these other
hold on.
idols,
Okay, so
were what you call, what the Kemets call Netaru.
okay, no, but listen to what I'm saying. If the pagans are worshipping Allah, then he's a pagan god. You know what I'm saying? He's a god to the pagans.
So 1 minute. When the Hindus worship, when the Hindus say Bhagwan, when they say God,
no, but they
yeah,
said Allah to
hey
him.
yo, Android 16, man, chill out, bro. When the theist believes in God,
Yeah,
he believes in the creator, yeah.
yeah.
But does that mean now that becomes a deist god? Allah becomes a deist god.
I don't quite
Hmm?
understand what you're saying to me.
So the word for God is in amongst Arabs is Allah. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
yes. But
we
what
agree
Supreme
to
God.
this. We agree to this. But
Yeah.
before the Quran was written, there were already Arabs who were worshipping Allah.
They would worship Allah alongside
Yes, and
Manat,
those
Uzza,
those
Lat,
this Allah
all the other pagan gods.
was not considered
Family.
a monotheistic God.
Family,
You
can I do
saying
this
Allah
real
was not
quickly?
monotheistic?
Yeah? So I can,
Let me show you, bro.
hey, yo, hold on. Can I do this real
Android
quickly?
16,
So
man.
oh yeah,
Hold on, hold on. Kalam, I'm saying that stuff.
Oh yeah, una mute your mics.
Yo, can you mute my mic right now? Because
Yeah.
I can't reach my phone. Mute
So
my
real
mic,
quickly,
man.
so I can go and grab something to eat. Yeah. All right. Can you hear me?
Yo, mute my mic, please. I can't reach it.
Anyways, so real quickly. Yeah, the story. Okay, at Mar el Dahran, there was a certain monk from Syria named Isa even. He was under the protection of Al-As ibn Wa'il. Got to give him blah blah blah. He kept to a cell. He had come down. He had and came down to Mecca every year to meet the people and to say to them, "O people of Mecca, soon there will be born among you a child whom the Arabs will look for guidance and who will hold sway over the foreigners. This is his time. Whoever has contact with him and follows him will achieve success, while those in contact with him who oppose him will experience failure. By God, I did not leave the land of fine wine, leavened bread, and security, and come to live in the land of hunger, poverty, and fear for any reason other than to seek him. No birth in Mecca ever occurred without his asking about it, but he would always say he's not come yet. When people would ask for a description of him, he would decline. He would hide that information because of what he knew the future leader would experience from his tribe, fearing for himself that it might someday result in harm, however slight to him. Okay, so when the morning arrived of the day when the birth of the messenger of God occurred, Abdullah, son of Abdul Muttalib, went out to see Isa. He stood at the foot of the monk's cell and called out, "Hello there, Isa." Wow, man, known him by first name basis. The response came, "Who is there?" "I'm Abdullah," he replied. Then Isa looked down at him and said, "Be his father. The child I used to tell you of has been born, and on a Monday he shall also receive God's mission on a Monday, and he will die on a Monday." Abdullah replied, "Well, this morning a boy was born to me." "And what have you named him?" the monk asked. "Muhammad." "By God," exclaimed Isa, "I wanted the child to be born among you, the people of the house, the Kaaba, because of three factors of which we know. Those were this, that his star arose yesterday, that he was born today, that his name is Muhammad. Go to him, for he whom I used to foretell is your son." Abdullah asked, How do you know he is my son? Perhaps some other child will be born today." "Your son," the monk replied, "has the right name, and God has never been one to confuse scholars. It is a proof, and a further sign of that is the fact that he is currently in pain. He will suffer for 3 days, then for 3 days he will show hunger, and after that he be cured. So you hold your tongue, for no one ever before has been the object of the envy they will be for him. No one has been the object of such hatred as he will have. If you live until his mission appears and he announces himself, then you will experience from your people what you will what you will endure, only endure by patience and humility. So hold your tongue and protect him. Abdullah then asked, what will his lifespan be, whether his life be long or short? He will not attain 70. He will die a short span before that in his 60s, at age 61, 63, etc. An average age for his people. An average age for his people. I like that. Let me just highlight that. Do you know why I'm highlighting this? An average age for his people. You know when Muslims say the life expectancy, it was in his 20s or 30s. Okay, and that's why they had to marry young. Let me highlight that double time. Look at that. Let me just sorry. Forgive me, family, forgive me. Let me just double highlight that, your blood clot. Double highlight that. You mean double highlight that. Hold on, hold on, hold on. I say, I want to double highlight that. No, 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 no. I want to triple highlight. No, 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 no. You're not working properly. I want to, no, 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 no. You're still not working properly. I want to, I want to quadruple highlight that. All right, cool. I'm finished. So as we can clearly see, yeah, Abdullah, Muhammad's father, went to a Christian monk, and the Christian monk told him that his son would be, somebody who is great, and told him to do a couple of things, which kind of alludes to the fact that this man had to have been a Christian, because if you was any other religion, you would be going to your own religious scholar. But for some strange reason, you're going to a Christian, and the Christian is talking to you in a nice way and giving you instructions. But anyways, none of my business. Let's just pretend that Muhammad wasn't a Christian. Neither was his family, with the names as Abdullah, which is clearly a Christian Judaic name.
Does it say there?
Hold on. And with the names of Amina, which means like the faithful one, which is clearly another Judeo-Christianic name. But anyways, I'll keep quiet and let me not digress.
What meant Abdullah again? The name of his
Abdullah
father?
means the servant of God.
Okay, so there we have it. So Allah was before Allah in the Quran was mentioned. There was already Allah.
Obviously, there was, man. Hey, 1 minute, but I'll tell you why that account was lies, yeah? If you go back to that screenshot, it says that right next to that place, it said Prophet Muhammad was born 23 years after the elephant attack. 23 years after the attack of the elephants, yeah? That's what it says there. But we know, historically, Prophet Muhammad was born in the year the elephant attacked.
Let me just quickly do this. So it says here, the account goes on, the messenger of God was conceived on the 10th of Muharram and born on Monday, the 12th of Ramadan, 23 years after the attack of those with elephants. Wow, this is very good,
Yeah.
This is very good. And you won't even know the reason why that's very good, right? I know you don't know, right? Because you know why you don't know?
Tell me why would I know?
Okay, because you talk about history, all right? And you're talking about Islamic history rather than actual history. And let me make that make a bit more sense. So, what year was the year of the elephant?
The year of the elephant, the way the Arabs used to roll, right?
No, so I want you to give it to me. The year of the elephant in the time frame of AD. What year was the year of the elephant?
I don't go by AD, man. What does AD mean?
I believe it's Anno Domini.
What's that mean?
Year of the Lord, basically.
Year of the Lord, yeah.
Yeah, but
so right now we're in 2000.
Don't believe in the year of the Lord.
Well, right now it's 2000. It's 2018. So what year are we in?
Well, I don't believe in AD, though, innit? The year of the Lord.
What year are we in right now?
Christian era.
Okay, what year are we in? Right now it
2018 Christian era.
Okay, so let's
not
call
AD
it. It's called Common Era, but let's carry on.
Oh, I do Common Era then.
All right, so based upon Common Era, when exactly was the year of the elephant?
I don't know, man.
Okay, so yeah, clearly, like the Muslims and the Muslim scholars will tell you the year of the elephant is in 570 AD. Okay, now
which Muslim scholars?
Sorry,
which Muslim scholars?
Every Muslim scholar. Just quickly go. Just
Google.
Just go on Wikipedia. Go to Wikipedia.
Someone like
and
Abu Hanifa was 1 minute. Abu Hanifa all right, was going by the Christian years, not the Islamic years, by saying 570.
Those how can I put it? Those Muslim scholars that wanted to how can I put it, correspond things with what mainstream society is saying would talk in Common Era or AD era, and would also talk in the Hijri era as well.
Which
Does
scholar
that
in it?
make sense?
Which scholar? You said 570, yeah?
Okay. Any modern, put it this way, any modern Islamic scholar, just any modern
Okay,
Islamic
now
scholar.
modern. No point.
Yeah.
No problem.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
you know, we ask the question, what is the year of the elephant, or what is the year that Muhammad was born, since he was born in the year of the elephant? Most people will tell you that is 570 AD, correct?
Yeah.
Correct. All right. And that's according to Islamic history. Now, the perfect thing about this thing is that we have external evidences, meaning this thing with the elephants coming into Arabian Peninsula and so forth is actually recorded within inside of history, meaning it's recorded in you know, the Greek works or the Roman works, it's recorded in Ethiopian works, it's also recording on epigraphy, meaning there is actually steles, okay, actual steles, and we can, how can I say,
Stella.
triangulate the dates.
Which Stella?
And it's we've got stelas of Abraham.
Paintings, drawings, that kind of.
Drawings.
Yeah,
Okay.
we've actually got no, it's not drawings, it's actually how can I put it, there is actually a rock with inscriptions, epigraphy, right, of
Okay.
Abraham's how can I put it, expedition. Okay, so we actually got it. So, you know, like this is something that we can actually verify. Like Abraham is actually a person that existed in history. Okay.
Go on.
And I'm going to quickly do this. Let me quickly do this. Okay. So, boom, share screen.
Right.
Okay.
Quick
Abraham.
question. Elephants, are they native to that Arabian Peninsula? I'm confused. How did elephants get there?
They came over in ships, or they could have marched. If they're coming from Ethiopia directly, could have come
Fujita, anyone?
from the ships.
What are you saying,
And
bro?
second, yeah, so from the ships, and then also from the marching down from Syria. That's how they could have made their way. Okay, so you've got all of these things, right? You got all of the Abraha inscriptions. You can literally go and you can check out Abraha's inscriptions, right? On the Marib Dam. Okay, and this happened in 541 AD. This is talking about the actual inscriptions and the actual how can I put it? Like, this is the stuff that you can go look. Inscriptions, Saudi Arabia.
1
Like,
minute,
you
brother.
can go do your
Does
research,
the
right?
inscription say 541, yeah? Now that's
Yep.
interesting.
Yeah.
But
So
you don't
we
know
know
why
that.
it's interesting, bro. You don't know why
Why
I'm
is
saying it's interesting.
why is it interesting?
That is interesting, bro.
Tell me.
He says 541, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Now in the hadith here, how long is there between, how much years was there between, according to hadith, how many years was there between Jesus, alayhi salam, Isa alayhi salam, and Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam? According to the hadith.
I don't know. Tell me.
I need to go and check it, but it wasn't 570. Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So basically, the Christians got the year wrong, bro. When they say 0 is AD, yeah, the year of the Lord, they got it wrong, basically.
Okay. Anyways,
Trust
I don't
me,
know.
do the math, bro.
Okay. I
Do the
don't know.
math.
I don't know. I don't know about all of that. All right. But we actually do have, yeah, look at this. Look at that. Let me just quickly show you. All right. So when Abraham, okay, this is on the inscription, this number here, 2, it's called the RY506, right? This is when Abraham puts down a revolt of Central Arabian tribes and negotiated with Amir ibn al-Munzir, right? So we actually have proper inscriptions, right? Proper stuff. Proper stuff, right? And this supposedly happened in 547 AD, right? And now if we add 3 years, right, plus 20, right, it equals 570 AD. Wow, look at that. Just look at that. So Ibn
1 minute.
Kathir, yeah, even
How
though
does it get to
you want to
570,
doubt,
bro?
hold on, sorry.
How does it get to 570? Sorry.
Oh, you don't know. Okay. So if we add, yeah, from 547, let's just say we add a 3 onto the 7, and
Oh,
that becomes
23, yeah. I
550.
see. 23, yeah.
Then we add another 20 years, right? And
Yeah.
that becomes 570 AD, right? And the
Yeah.
funny thing is, like, you wanted to pull that up as, oh, look at that. Look, 23 years after the attack of those with the elephants. This seems to correspond with actual history rather than this blase date that you know, you know, they tried to give you. So yeah, that's just quite shocking. I'm glad you brought this up, I'm very glad you brought this up. That's
So
quite shocking how it all
you
corresponds.
saying Prophet Muhammad was 23 years old when the attack of the
No,
elephants happened?
he was born quite possibly 23 years after the year of the elephant, which would have been
23
the year 570
years
AD.
before.
So Muslims, yeah, scholars, they're convinced, right? He was born in 570 AD. They all say he was born in 570 AD, right? But they also say that the year of the elephant was in 570 AD. Okay. But we know via inscriptions that the year of the elephant could never have been in the year 570 AD. Okay. But what's so interesting is this, this narration here that lets you know that no, Muhammad wasn't born in the year of the elephant. He was born 23 years after the year of the elephant. And then if we go back 23 years prior to 570, we realize that yes, Abraha was actually in the Arabian Peninsula, putting down a revolt that was going on. So that's quite interesting. This narration coincides with actual history, not just
So
Islamic history.
that revolt, where was that revolt happening? In Yemen, yeah?
The revolt was happening around in Central Arabia.
No. Say it properly, bro.
Check.
It was happening in Central Arabia, bro.
In Central Arabian tribes and negotiated with Amir ibn
Say it properly.
al-Mu'tayyib.
Say it properly. Where was the revolt happening? Be honest now, come on.
Sorry?
Where was the Abyssinians ruling?
Where was the Abyssinians ruling?
Yeah, they weren't ruling
They
Central
were
Arabia.
ruling. They were ruling all of Arabia, to be honest with you. But that's for a story for another day. I ain't got time to go through all of it.
Historically, yeah. What empire was it called?
Mhm.
Was it Aksum? Which one was it?
It was called the Aksumite Empire.
Himmerite. Aksum, all right.
No,
The Aksum was
Aksumite
ruling.
Empire.
Okay, they were ruling Yemen, yeah. So you telling me
No, the Aksum,
were they ruling Mecca?
Aksumites. Yes, of course they was ruling Mecca. Look,
Yeah.
Aksum. Let me just quickly do this because
Prove they were
let's see if we can
ruling
do
Mecca.
this. Aksum Empire.
Yeah, check it out.
Let's
Go
see
to
if we
images.
can. Let's see if we can do that. No, where's the actual empire?
There you go, bro.
Okay.
They're ruling Yemen, bro.
So there you go. So this is the empire of Aksum. Okay. And
Hey, bro,
let's see if we
why you
can.
clicking that one and not the rest?
As you can see, they were ruling. Okay. So from Nuba, Beja area. So this is Upper Egypt, basically, into Sudan, into Ethiopia proper. Okay. Into Yemen, into the Hadramaut, into this island over here called beginning with an S. I can't remember its name. Into the Hijaz.
The image is fake. I'll tell you why the
Into the
image is fake.
Hijaz. They were ruling Arabia. Okay.
All right, I'll tell you why
For some strange reason, we don't know about this area here. Okay. But I would surmise and tell you that you had the Kinda or the Kindite tribe that was actually ruling this area. And their empire even went up into this region here as well. But we'll actually have to go into historical texts like Roman texts and stuff
go back on
for
that.
you to see
Go back. Now go up. Scroll up. No, go back. Go to the rest of the images.
So that's it. So that's the Roman Empire. This is the Sassanid Empire.
Yo, I'm on mute, sir.
We're digressing right now.
Nah. You wanna run away, bro?
One?
Look at that map here. That is the real map, bro. Yeah,
that's the real map.
That's
Could you tell me why this? Could you tell me why this is the real map?
I'll tell you why. Because go to the other side. Hadramaut, yeah. You know what Hadramaut means?
Where do you want us to go?
All the maps, look at that. All of those maps here, they only rule Yemen. Yeah. You only got one picture where they actually go further up than that.
Sorry?
All of those pictures,
Sorry.
you only have one
just
picture where they go to Hijaz, right? The rest of the pictures, they only got to Yemen. That's one point. Secondly, the reason they came with elephants to Makkah is to destroy the Kaaba. Yeah.
Okay, that is the
Yeah.
how can I put
They
it?
came to destroy.
That
If
is
they were ruling Makkah, hold on. If they were
the
ruling Makkah,
Islamic narrative.
why is the Kaaba still there?
Sorry?
If they were ruling Kaaba,
You do?
why is the Kaaba still there? Yeah? Thirdly, these lot were Christians. All right.
Uh-huh.
How many churches are there in Makkah? How many Christians were there in Makkah?
There was a lot of Christians in Mecca, by the way.
1 minute. Where's the churches at? These are the ruling elites.
What do you think the Kaaba? See, I've done this before, and I spoke about the Kaaba being actually a church, right?
The Kaaba, the church, yeah.
Yeah, the Kaaba was a church. The Kaaba was built by a Coptic Christian. If you didn't know, there was images of Jesus, Mary, angels inside of the Kaaba. We did this on a previous show. Unfortunately, you may have missed.
You're talking about Serapis again?
Nah, G. There were actually Christian iconography within inside of the Kaaba.
All right. Now,
to the point that Muhammad said, you can erase everything inside of the Kaaba, everything, but make sure you do not erase the images of Jesus and Mary. In fact, he even put his whole body in hands and covered the image of Jesus and Mary. He said, everything but Jesus and Mary.
Where's that, Kalam?
Oh man, come on, we did.
Just
Yeah, he done this the other night.
We did this the other night, man.
I'll watch it. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Which video?
Let me leave you with this information, okay? And I'll come back in a little while, okay? So hopefully we just stirred the pot a little bit.
No problem, bro.
All right. So
I told you, bro. Most of those pictures on Google Images show that they didn't rule Hijaz.
Okay. I just want to quickly acknowledge, that Muhammad's father may have quite possibly been a Christian, since he was getting information from a Christian going up into his cell, and speaking to him and telling him that my son is born. It's like, yes, your son is going to be the new prophet. Your son is this great person. Make sure you look after him, and so forth. So we're seeing that Muhammad's father, according to the Syrian literature, was getting tutelage from a Christian monk. I'll go now. Bye-bye.
I'll go, Kalam. Don't go 1 minute. But I thought you said that. I thought it was said that it was Abraham and Ishmael who built the Kaaba.
We can do that. We can do that when he comes back.
Yeah, when he comes back.
That there is what I call funny mythology.
Kalam, make sure you drink a bottle of Lucozade as well, because you're gonna need that, fam.
All right, family. Make sure you share, hit up the like button if you're enjoying the show. Remember, this is all about information. We don't hate nobody. We're showing love. We're just exploring, other things within inside of the religions.
You say that, bro. You know it's hate, bro. You know it's hate. You know what I'm saying? We the Muslims show love.
Theo, you wanna roll with that alchemy thing?
Well, to be honest with you, I was hoping I don't really know too much about it. You know what I mean? It's an interesting topic. I was hoping there was other people in the chat that could elaborate on it a bit further.
I believe Mr. Rich Kid, you know anything about alchemy? The Philosopher's Stone and them thing there? Rich Kid, you know? Possibly not.
I would say alchemy was in ancient times when people tried to make gold out of stones, for example.
Yes.
And there was even, I think, maybe it was in Germany and stuff. And the only success was not to make gold. They made porcelain, how I call it in English. A special kind, what we have our plates and stuff, which is very
porcelain.
Yeah, this was the best stuff what they got out of this. But alchemy is like astrology to cosmology. So alchemy was before chemistry. So because it was something like a lot of spells and magic and stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay.
I don't know about that because alchemy existed in different forms all over the world. So if you look at China, I believe it was Emperor Ming who tried to get his people to make him immortal, and they were delving into all these different type of alchemy and stuff like that, and they ended up killing him by giving him mercury. They said, yeah, drink this mercury, man, it'll make you immortal. And it was the mercury that killed him in the end. It could have been Emperor Lao, I'm not sure. It could have been Ming or Lao, I can't remember. But alchemy, I think, existed in different places and different times. I think what would be interesting is to define what alchemy consists of. Is it solely for the purpose of turning stone into gold, or does it encompass all the other types of spells, magic, and...
No, alchemy had a science for itself. Alchemy, basically, when people came into Egypt and they started thinking what alchemy was, they thought that people was taking base metals and then using a kind of process and turning that base metal into alchemy. But alchemy had a higher science. It was for those initiates, you see. So anytime you get something that's a sacred or something that's only for initiates, like say, for instance, when you went to Paris back in the days and you used to go into the church used to have like snakes and skulls and all kind of gargoyle on them. And people used to see that and it used to scare them. But basically it was to scare away the neophytes, people who wouldn't understand the mysteries, you see.
They got that Notre Dame de Paris, isn't it? The cathedral in Notre Dame.
Yeah.
They've got gargoyles and them kind of things.
That's correct. And that's why they used to do that. So when they saw alchemy, for the neophyte, they thought that it was just turning base metal into gold. And that then caters to people's desires of greed. But alchemy was far different from that. Alchemy is the science of alchemy is the science for the human body. For alchemy, it's more a spiritual thing than a physical thing. It's more telling you to attain towards virtue than vice.
Right. So is alchemy... Go on, Theo.
So how would you explain it then to the uninitiated eye then?
Unless they initiated, because like I said, like some of the sages says, when you teach the mysteries to common people, it becomes vulgar. So you see, even if you say certain things to people, they don't want to believe that, because like a lot of religious people do, they go, that's not God, and God didn't, and they jump back to their literature. So if they're happy in their literature, then we leave them. But those who wanted to seek higher education and higher virtues, then they'll be initiated into the mysteries and they'll be given toe steps. Because you can't just get a child and just say, oh, my child's going to kindergarten. Oh, I'm going to take this child from kindergarten and put it in the 4th grade because it's so smart. The child has to go through a process of learning before they reach that, so they attain that. And so it is in Freemason, and so it is in anything. Even in Christianity, when you go for your doctorate, it's the same thing. You have to go through that process. Otherwise, you won't understand the mysteries.
Right. So is it safe to assume that alchemy originated from Kemet?
It's actually in the name. Okay. That's why Kemet was called Kem.
Okay, alchemy. Okay, all right. Was there different forms of alchemy?
Yeah, there is.
Okay. So the Philosopher's Stone, does that have a...
Who's that?
Yeah, it does.
Do you want to expand a little bit, maybe?
What would you? Because it's a broad subject, so it's hard to just kind of say.
What, the Philosopher's Stone is a broad subject. Okay, is it an actual thing, or is it like a...
All of this? Sometimes when you see these mysteries, Buddha, all these things are saying to you is that one must contemplate the fact why we're here and what we need to do as a human being. And basically, you will see some people outside, and some people, they like vices.
Right.
Everything to do with vices they like. Stealing, murder, envy, they love it. It's like what we call the 7 deadly sins. But
Yes.
for the philosopher, he has a different road. And his road is toiled with toils. So to reach to virtue, it's harder to study virtue than vice. Vice is an easier road. So the philosopher's stone is reaching that gold. Reaching that, like when you see in the Bible when they talk about, and Jacob saw the face of God, and that is the road of virtue, because the gods are virtuous, and most people won't take that road. They'll take the road of vice. So the philosopher's stone is like Jason on the Juggernaut, or Jason searching for the golden fleece. This is why I keep saying to people, read Greek mythology, because you'll see the science in there. It's actually a mythology, but the story has a deeper meaning to it. Like Little Red Riding Hood, for instance.
It almost sounds like enlightenment, in the Buddhist concept of enlightenment.
That's correct. That's correct. It's the same thing. It's the same thing.
Did you have any other questions there, Theo? Or
How does let's see. Do you know anything about alchemy and Sufism?
boy,
I know that in Sufism, you said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know a little bit about it. I don't know much, but I know that when you look at the Sufis as their Islamic practice is much different from the rest of the Muslims, because they understand that a lot of the stories are allegories, and it's meant to teach you a different thing. That in I think even in Sufi they have the dance of the swirling. Do you understand what I'm saying? And to reach that no mind state, basically it's like stop thinking about earthly things and think about higher ideals. They have that science of practice, and when people see that practice, sometimes they'll say, oh, that's voodoo, or that's magic. It's got nothing to do with that. It's just a certain practice that makes the individual human being attain to more virtues than vice. That's basically what it's always been about.
Okay. You know what? I don't really have any specific questions, really. It was just one of those things where hopefully I could have got some ideas bouncing around, or people's different perspectives on it. But I don't really.
what's your perspective on it?
On the alchemy, well, you know, like there's two perspectives. There's one dealing with, to my understanding anyway, there's one dealing with your inner self, and then there's the other one to do with base metals and gold. However, like as Rich Kid was saying before, to the uninitiated, you know, individual, it's all a bit of a smoke screen, isn't it? It's all a bit of a, it could be this, it could be that kind of thing.
Do you know what? There's someone I know, but I'm not sure if he's around at the moment. He is very well versed in alchemy. Let me see if he's online. He would have been the ideal person to speak on this.
The king is here.
Who?
I said the king is here.
What's your opinion on alchemy, Kalam?
Where did we get to last?
Buddha.
Alchemy. So we're speaking about alchemy in regards to Kemet, and it's more of a philosophy about self and attaining enlightenment, as opposed to going through vices, if I'm not mistaken, Rich Kid. But there's also the part where it talks about metal turning stone into gold, etc., 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 as Theo explained.
All right. Let me see what I can do. So, who's ready? Who's ready for a lesson in alchemy?
Yeah, man.
Let's go.
All right, let's do this. So, for those of you guys who don't know, alchemy is the Arab, okay, or the Muslim/Arab world's rendition of Kemetic science. right? I repeat, alchemy is the Muslim / Arab world's interpretation of the word alchemy is actually coming from the Arabic, for those of people who don't actually know. Two words, al meaning the, and chemi meaning the Kemites, right? The Kemetians, the Kemits, chemi, right? So alchemy is the science of the blacks, okay? Because obviously Egypt, or what's called chemi or hami or ham, is basically saying it's a science of these Kemetians individuals. And the whole science was revolved around transmutation. That's what the whole science actually revolved around, transmutation. So most times you hear about, transmuting lead into gold, right? Lead into gold. It's the science of transmutation. So as we are rough and ready individuals, like rough individuals who are waiting to be transformed. So, you hear about us, talking about we're human beings, we're just mortals, but we're seeking the face or seeking the path of God because we want to be turned into God. We want to be turned into the light of God. We want to be turned into the mercy of God. And it sets forth a lot of, Hermetic. Again, this is Idris or Enoch or Hermes or Jehuti. A lot of those principles are inculcated inside of the Arab, okay? The Arab rendition of the Kemetic sciences. The first books you will find on it is to do with the, what's that book called again? Somebody help me out. What's that book called? Rich Kid. It's to do with the first books that the Arabs wrote concerning alchemy. As above and so below. Where did we get that from?
That's slipping me right now, Kalam, but I think I know the book you're talking about.
Yeah, something like the tablets or something. It's in The Secret. Is it The Secret? The Secret.
Yeah, you got me on that one. I can't remember. Okay.
I don't know which book, man.
Okay, so let me try this. So we got the as above so below. Let's see if it comes up. As above so below. Hermetic. Let's see. Hermes. Let's quickly go through it.
Oh yes.
Let's see. Where are the Arabs? Where does it say Arab? Does it say Arab here anywhere?
Yo, that woman said emerald tablets, but
emerald tablets. There you go.
Yeah, that's emerald tablets. Yeah, the emerald tablets.
The emerald tablets of Hermes. There you go. Okay.
Hey, Miss Southeast said it. Yeah, just giving out credit where credit's due.
Yeah, big up Miss Auntie.
There you go. So yeah, so the Arabs were translating our stuff, and it's coming from this particular book. Is coming from where? Let's see. It says here that inside the vault, an old corpse and golden throne held in the emerald tablet, the laws of Hermeticism following Belinus, an early version of the emerald tablet appeared in Kitab Sirah al-Asra, the book of secrets of creation and the art of nature. Itself is a composite of earlier works and Kitab Ustukus al-Us al-Thani, meaning the second book of the elements of foundation, attributed to Jabir ibn Hayyan. Now, of course, Jabir ibn Hayyan, he had his own mystical school. I'm pretty sure he was actually a student of Jafar al-Sadiq as well. So they had loads of Kemetic work that's been handed down through via the Ahlul Bayt and so forth. Let's quickly see. So interest, notable works, influenced by, and so forth. So you find like all of this work here, all of these Arabs were just learning or translating a lot of our Kemetic works. And they also set up their own mystery school systems and so forth. Like they were very, very advanced back in the day. Okay, I don't know what happened with them now. They've kind of like fallen away from the mystery systems, but they were on job back in the day. So alchemy is really, for anybody who really wants to know, it's actually the Arab rendition or the Arab interpretation of Kemetic literature on transmutation and the laws of nature and physics and so forth. So very good. It's like mysticism 101.
Okay.
But if we want to go into some greater details, let's go.
There's another, Moses Maimonides, Kalam, who used to work with another Arabic scholar called, I think it's Finesse. I can't remember what his name was, but around the 14th. Say that again?
Something like that. Is it?
Yeah, he was one of his students. Like they used to, but he was vast in the astrology and the alchemy. I just can't remember his name, but I know that him and Maimonides used to do work together.
Yeah.
In about the 14th century.
Yeah, all the
Venesi or something.
Oh, Abyssinia. Abyssina. But he's known as Abienza or something like that.
Yes, Kalam. That him.
Yeah,
that's what I'm talking about.
Abyssina. Gonna come up. Yeah. What it would be Abby. No. Okay, so the book of
that's it.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that's it right there. Yeah, big boy, man. So we're just dropping you some quick stuff. You lot should go ahead and just research a lot of this, right? He was part of the Brotherhood, is it? Was he part of the Brotherhood of Purity? I saw Purity just a minute ago. I know I saw the Brotherhood of Purity. Sugar. Yeah, there you go. Consider Avicenna to be a follower of the Brethren of Purity. Yeah, big boy.
Yeah. They need to look at him.
You really want to know about Kemetic philosophy? Yeah, the Arabs here did a great job. Look. Check it out. Look. Hierarchy was a major theme in their encyclopedia, and unsurprisingly, the Brethren loosely divided themselves up into 4 ranks by age. The age guidelines would not have been firm. As for example, such an exemplar of the 4th rank as Jesus would have been too young if the age guidelines were absolute and fixed. Compare the similar divisions of the encyclopedia into 4 sections and the Jabarite symbolism of 4. Ranked were the craftsmen. Fellow craftsmen, are you? It says here, the craftsman had to be at least 15 years of age. Their honorific was the pious and compassionate. Okay. And then you got the political leaders. A political leader had to be at least 30 years of age. The honorific was the good and excellent. The kings, a king had to be at least 40 years of age. The honorific was the excellent and noble. The prophets and philosophers, the most aspired to the final rank and highest rank of the brethren. To become a prophet or philosopher, a man had to be at least 50 years old. The honorific compared them to historical luminaries such as Jesus, Socrates, Mohammad, who were also classified as kings. These ranks was the angelic rank. All right.
Indeed, that's a good read, Kalam.
Big stuff here, trust me. That's what I'm saying. A lot of us who are part of the mystery systems, okay, this is you always hear me bigging up Socrates. You will hear me bigging up Jesus. You'll even hear me bigging up Muhammad against everybody's liking to. It's because we're part of some of these mystery school systems, right? And this is all part of our tradition. So we know about all of the great Arabs or the great Muslims of the past who were on Kemetic philosophy. But it's just these newer day Muslims, they've completely lost it. To be honest with you, is part of my Sufi circles, who were into the mysticism, that I first learned about the hieroglyphs. Most people think oh no, you learn it through, what's the guy's name again? Rosetta Stone guy. Rosetta Stone. Why am I losing my mind?
Champollion.
Nah, G, man was reading Arab works from beforehand. In the Sufi schools, they were teaching us the hieroglyphs from beforehand. But it seems to me this is all lost. These Muslims today in England, maybe because they're not African, to be honest with you, yeah, or part of that ancient traditional system, right? They don't have this. It's why? You don't on some Salafi nonsense. You don't know nothing about the mystery systems, nothing about spirituality, nothing about philosophy, nothing about alchemy. That's not Islam. That's some next religion you're teaching. But anyways, I digress.
Don't move, Kalam. Don't move. When you was just giving us the 4 on your screen. Oh, you should have left the screen up. You was giving us the craftsman, and they had to go through this is what I was explaining earlier when I'm saying the 15-year-old as a craftsman, he would learn certain things out there is. And then to be a political leader, you had to be 30. But from the years of 30, you had certain schools that you had to go through as a politician. But the highest rank goes to like the philosophers, prophets. That means you're now in the subliminal world. You've attained all virtues, temperance, and you've got rid of all vices. So no longer the soul can be pulled back down into vices. This is what we mean about seeing the face of God.
Rich kid, you see that? Is that the caste system?
What Kalam had on his thing, or what do you think?
I'm talking the Hindu caste system, man. You know the one in India?
Yeah, go on, I'm listening.
So many. You've got the prophets, meaning the Brahmin, Kshatriya, the kings. Alright, now in Kemet, yeah, ancient Egypt and that, which rank was the pharaoh?
The pharaoh would be under that, the philosopher, and not all pharaohs neither, but most of them would have to attain that last one that Kalam had on the screen.
All right, so the pharaoh, and then you got the king number 3. So who's the king? So pharaoh's number 4. Who's the king then?
No, I didn't. Kalam would have to put back the list so I can see it. Otherwise, I'm not too sure.
The list
is it there? Is it there? Sorry, it's me. Sorry, it's my bad. Okay, yeah. So what was he saying?
The craftsman is on the bottom, meaning there's untouchables, and then there's a Shudra, craftsman.
Right, craftsman's number 1, yeah.
That's the bottom, yeah. I'm pretty sure the prophets and philosophers on the top.
No, well, from what I'm looking on Kalam's screen, it's got 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Work backwards, no problem. Which one was the pharaoh commander?
The pharaoh would be number 4.
All right, so the king is above the pharaoh or below the pharaoh?
Is the king below the pharaoh? The pharaoh is the king.
So the pharaoh takes 2 of them, yeah.
There's no, when you say pharaoh, sometimes it's the pharaoh. It doesn't mean like a pharaoh. The word we use was nisabiti. It means a king. So the pharaoh is the king.
All right.
If he's going to do some synchronisms right now, right? Remember, this is like the latter form, but if he was going to synchronize it with ancient Egypt or Kemet, right? This rank here, i.e. al-martabat al-malikiya. Okay, so this is the angelic rank right here. All right, so this is like the godhood rank right here. This will be the pharaoh's domain. If we're going to travel a little bit down, all the priests of Kemet, high priests of Kemet, had to have been studied for at least 40 years. So these would have been the priests, the maliks, okay, or what would be known as the priest. Yeah, malik is also another way of saying priest as well, for those who know. All right, so this will be the priesthood level. Then you'll have like the how can I put it? We'll call these like the prophets, okay, or the mouthpieces in ancient Egypt. What do we call this? They'll be called like the wa'abs, okay,
or the vizier.
Yeah, no, not even the vizier, just like the wa'abs, the normal prophets, or the normal people who are part of the temple system. And then down here, this will be like the initiates, like the first stage. So this will be the mereks, those people who are coming into the system itself.
That's wrong, isn't it? This whole 4 system is wrong, because you said that the king is on top, but over here they say the king's in the middle.
The pharaoh, okay, pharaoh.
So that translation is wrong, isn't it? Kings is supposed to be priests.
So here it says here the excellent and noble. It says here the kings, as in quotation marks, okay, but the actual honorific title was called the excellent.
Yeah, they got it wrong. It shouldn't be written as kings.
Al-Kiram.
Yeah, they got it wrong in it, basically.
So I have a question for you.
No, because the kings are underneath. Kings are underneath the angelic realm. You dig what I'm saying? And the pharaoh was not simply a king; he was an emperor. He was the king of kings. You dig what I'm saying? The pharaoh was the king of kings. There was loads of different kingdoms, but he would have been the king of kings, right? And then those people who were in charge of the Sepat or the nomes in Egypt, right? They will have their own temple and their own priest, but they would be considered the kings, or they would be considered the priests.
All right. Another thing, yeah. It says that a man had to be at least 50 years old. The honorific compared them to historical luminaries, 50 years old, yeah. But you got Tutankhamun who was like 10 years old.
And that's why the brother said not all of them would have been passed through it. And again, these numbers are very symbolic, okay? Because look, as it says up here, what did it say? Okay, such an exemplar of the fourth rank as Jesus would have been too young if the age guidelines were absolute and fixed. The age guidelines would not have been firm, okay? It's saying they're not firm, they're just guidelines. And to be honest with you, it's a lot of symbolism that's involved.
Yo, Kalam, we chat next time, inshallah.
Inshallah.
So, salam alaikum to the panel.
Yeah, please visit.
Can I have a question?
Fine.
Yeah, I would like to ask, is there different group in Kemet, and do they have different beliefs?
So technically speaking, there are loads of different Kemetic schools of thoughts out there, in modern times, okay, and loads of Kemetic philosophers out there in modern times, and everybody should have a different level of understanding. But if we've got an organizational school, the organizational school would be teaching one thing that's uniform. And hopefully, and I pray, I don't know every Kemetic school, but I hope and pray that all Kemetic schools would denounce any form of belief and would say that the very first principle is the gnosis principle, which is knowledge or coming to a knowing.
So Kemet is a religion, right?
No, Kemet is an empire and a landmass. But what I've been teaching or talking about is the philosophy of Kemet, or individual philosophies in Kemet.
So it's not you don't have religious activities.
There is stuff that can be interpreted as religious, right? But for somebody inside of a school of thought or inside of a temple school system, they would not refer to it as religion. It's a philosophical school or a mystery school or teaches mysticism.
Do they have priests?
Yeah, that is a title. Yeah.
Okay.
You good? That's it?
Yeah, for now.
Cool. All right, you lot talking? I'm gonna go now. My food is ready, I believe. Let's see. So the Brethren of Purity parallels Plato's Philosopher Kings. That's right. That's what I love. This is Joe Haslam, right? Let me just show you. This is like the real Muslims right here. Like finding the real Muslims who joined the panel. So you got Joe Haslam says the Brethren of Purity parallels Plato's Philosopher Kings. That's right. That's right. Those of you guys know about Plato and the Philosopher Kings, like Joe Haslam is dropping some knowledge right now. Jeez, what man? I expect to see you still up in here. Love that. K Ferrari says, good stuff, Kalam. Sorry, I missed most of it. God damn, I'm gonna have to catch it up. Kemet knowledge is bigger in India. Yeah, buddy. All right. Cool. So yeah, you lot talk, man. I want to go and get some food to eat. Unless you guys need anything.
Okay, let me ask brother Richman. Richman?
Yeah, Rich, could you call me Rich?
How are you, brother?
I'm not rich though, but the people call me Rich.
Blessings to you, blessings to you.
Yeah, blessings, peace.
Okay, I have a couple questions. It's just for learning, huh? It's not just for learning.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay, I see they have a thing saying ancient Egyptian deity are the gods and goddess worshipped in ancient Egypt. Is that true?
You said ancient goddess and gods was
it said ancient Egyptian deities are the gods and goddess worshipped in ancient Egypt. And it continues and say the belief and rituals surrounding these gods form the core of ancient Egyptian religion. I found that in Wikipedia.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of the times they're going to say that because what people tend to do is they look at their religion and they compare it to Egyptian religion and they go, oh, but the Egyptians, they were worshipping the sun. And we go, no, they weren't worshipping the sun. And they go, oh yeah, but they had a god called Ra, and they had a god for this and they had a god for that. But it's not in that concept. A lot of the stories we find in Egypt, they were told sometimes people are reading satires and they don't even know they're reading satires because they don't understand the concept of what Egyptians were. Egyptians had a belief that there was an afterlife that's primitive right throughout the religion. But as to, none of our sages would say to you that our God name is this, the creator of the heaven and earth is this. They would just come to a point where we just say, we don't know. But we can only study the handiworks of what we call creator to get to understand what creation is. So that religious kind of where we go in and we worship Ra, but I'm not saying that people in the culture probably weren't doing that. But for those who know, they weren't doing that.
Okay. So there's nothing like religious, no worship businesses, just like normal thing for, or like studying nature, nothing like worshiping or, you know.
Well, they had their practices, and their practices, sometimes people will say, oh, you know, the Egyptians, they used to worship because they do this, and they try to fit our motive within what they're doing actually in church or in Islam. But when you study the practices, they never really had practices like that.
Okay. Doesn't Kemet or in ancient Egypt, do they, like, for example, what can you say that was wrong with the system? Was everything right, or was there things you could say that was wrong and that should be changed? And
well, it depends, you know, because like Egypt has a long history. And like I said, not all of the kings that came on the throne were agreeable or did things that were agreeable to any society. I think when people sometimes hear us talk about, they think that it's just a place that was perfect on earth, and it wasn't like that. What we're trying to say is that our ancestors had an African philosophy. And that philosophy, what we see and what has been left for us, that's what we know, because that's what worked for them. Do you understand what I'm saying? But as what the kings were doing, and I could tell you some of the stories about certain kings, but at the same time, we're not going to paint the brush as if to say this was a mystical place and it was the best place on earth. It was one of the places on earth where science was brought, high science was brought to that place, and it had a school for higher learning. And that's why Egypt is so prominent. But all along that African coast, we had that kind of familiarity. Some people will say when we're going to the Euro religion, we have different gods, Abatala, Amudurera, and each one of them have different titles. When I see Allah, and Allah has 99 names, it's the same kind of principle. Allah has 99 names, the best of friends, El Qadir, the merciful, and so forth. It's the same principles that we have. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're sitting down praying to a God of mercy. Do you understand?
Before in Kemet, they had a kingdom, right? There was a kingdom.
Indeed.
What about today in Egypt?
Egypt's finished. I mean, our sages told us that. From the Greeks, from about Egypt was still an influence in the 3rd century AD. But from about when the Greeks came in and the Greeks started producing writing, and the Ptolemies took over, that Egypt was long gone from them. I mean, you're talking about 3,000 years. So when Dr. Ben told us, he's like, when Egypt was going for our 3rd golden age, Europe hasn't even had a window. So we're going back from ages of a practice that has worked for us and always worked for us. And if any black people is on the panel, or any black people know anything, once we have sunshine and the sun comes out, we're a different people. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're worshiping the sun. We just like to live in the sun.
No, the majority of people that in Egypt right now, Egypt today is
oh, that's not Egyptian. That's not Egypt that you're looking at.
That's people that.
How did the Egyptians become Muslim? How did they become Muslim?
They was overcome, no?
That's right. And this is what sometimes a lot of the Muslims don't want to talk about, is the Arab slave trade. But you can go online and just type in the Arab slave trade. And when they came into Egypt, a lot of them just started destroying the monuments because it wasn't fitting their paradigm. It was paganism. They were Kafirs. Egypt has been through many invasions. And everyone that came into Egypt tried to destroy it in some way or another. So much so that one of the pharaohs, when he came back into power, he started to do the hieroglyphics much deeper into the wall. So at a certain point, you'll see that the hieroglyphics were not just being inscribed on the wall, they started etching them deeper, because every time somebody invaded our land, they tried to erase our history. I mean, we see that today.
So does Kemet cover all black people in Africa or some black people?
What do you mean, does it cover? I don't understand.
I mean, like when we look and we see a black person, can we say this is a Kemet person or?
No, we never say that. It's like the only way I can put it in layman's term. You have Washington D.C. and the White House is at Washington D.C. But then you have Connecticut, you have Philadelphia, you have blah blah. You understand? These people are all Americans, but they don't necessarily mean from one place to another. You'll find different cultures.
No, I mean, like, for example, we have people that live in France. I live in France.
Okay.
And we all can have French paper, French passport, and we can see that I can see that I'm French, and the white person can say he's French. But when you look, the majority of people that live in France are white people.
Right.
And when you go down in the bottom of itself, the real French person you see is like, you see like it's a white person that standing up in front of you. You know, some of us, we have become part of the nation because of we get the passport or we get the papers, you know.
Okay.
But some of the people, they born and then there's no question about it. They don't have.
Sorry, I missed the point. There's no question about what. Sorry.
I mean, like, for example, a white person who is born in Europe, he is born all naturally there, and he will have his passport without struggle.
Okay.
But a person that is a darker color person have to go through tests, and they have to examine him. They have to make him do this, and before they can give him the French right.
Is that if he's? Are you saying that if an immigrant's coming into the country?
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, and even though you were born there, you know, it look like it's not balanced. I mean, in the mouth of the people, they will say that we are all equal, but just by your color complexion, they will just, it won't be balanced. I don't know if you see where I'm coming from.
So what you're trying, I'm
My
trying to understand.
My point I'm making is that you know, when I see a black person, I know, you know, something. Okay, for example, you will be, I don't know where you live in now, if it's in England or in America right now.
Yeah, I'm in England.
England. You will meet a white person, he'll ask you, where you from?
Okay. So you're saying identify, they don't really identify you, say, as British because of your, or French as because of your complexion, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, because, you know, they won't think for 1 minute that you're from Europe. First thing they ask you, where you from?
Okay, I get it. Okay.
You say, I'm from England. No, but I mean, where you come from? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Okay.
So for them, like, you come from somewhere else. You don't belong to Europe area, to the cold places. So if you're there because you come there, but you're not from there. Whereas you born there, you raised there, you go school there. But the question will always come up automatically. Not maybe they don't have anything bad behind it, but they will ask you, where you from?
So are you saying that they'll still ask people if they're born in France?
Yeah,
if they're born there.
That happen, and then something meet a person and then they speak with you and then they ask you, who are you, where you from? You know, and then sometimes they'll say, maybe like when winter come, they will say that oh, you can't take the cold, you know, you're missing your home. What do you mean, where's my home?
Yeah, because originally let's not be hypocritical here. Originally, they know that most black people are from Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Do you understand what I'm saying? So when you're saying you're an African, you're expecting to see a black person. When you're saying you're a European, you're expecting to see a European person.
So that's why I'm asking you that when we talk about Kemet, are we talking all black people, or is it a nation? From the nation, it was the kingdom, And from
You know
the
what?
children,
Kemet in its word, I think I should say, Kemet in its word just meant like the black land. And that then we had another word for the people who actually lived on the land. So when you look at Kemet all along the Nile, the influence of what we were learning, the science, the arts, the literature, and so forth, that was right down the line, Ethiopia into Sudan. I mean, we came up from Sudan up in, so we was just moving along the Nile. It doesn't mean that everyone in Africa at the time was studying what we were studying, but they also had their own culture and their own principles of ways of looking at things. I think that's the point I was making.
come from a people. This teaching.
Sorry, say that again.
Does this teaching come from a people, a particular people?
Well, to be honest with you, there's a lot of African tribes that came in and out of Egypt, and each tribe that came in brought their science with them. So you see, the science. That's why I said the science was.
Thank you, Brother Rishkin.
Okay.
So, did anybody else want to join and bring up a topic of conversation?
Well, I just want to say, congrats, mate.
You're tricked out there, mate. I didn't hear what you said.
Respect is in there. He made just £1,000, so I want to congratulate him.
Walk one.
Yes. Hello, Mr. Respect. Yeah.
What you saying, cuz?
Not a lot, man. Not a lot. How you doing?
Congratulations, man. You made £1,000, didn't you?
Congratulations.
Yeah, super chat's going off. Big up the super chat gang. Clean-hearted things we're dealing with over there. You get me?
So what are you saying? Can I get a sub?
Nice, man. Nice. Yeah, so I don't know, man.
Quiet on that one.
But are there any Muslims in the panel now? Probably not, right?
I don't believe there are any now.
So I was wondering if anybody could give me some information about, for example, they say that they have occult in Islam, and there's a book called written by Ahmad al-Buni and the Shams al-Ma'arif. Somebody heard of it?
Nope. When was this written? Is this a recent thing or?
Yeah, it was. They don't know. It's actually quite a mysticism book, written somewhere in year 622, or they don't actually know. There's like maybe from 1225 CE. It's actually an occult book in Islam, but maybe Muslims they will recognize, say no, it's not Islamic, but it does have a lot of aspects that I can see related to alchemy, and yeah, that's why maybe it was interested to put up. Somebody who heard it, then please, get some info about it.
Never heard of it. I think Kalam would know that.
Yeah, listen. I've got books here on alchemy, and most of the Arabs were deep into alchemy. They were deep into it at certain points, drinking that shisha and taking certain drugs with it, and it would, like they say, what's that drug called? The
DMT.
A DMT drug, making them hallucinate. They were up into those things. So you see, after a point, that couldn't come forth as a religion. It had to be cleaned up.
Yeah.
So what you're looking on now is the denial of the mysteries, and what they just brought forth is just literature for you to read, pay your jizya, and be good.
So, so this is why it's like a really big sin to commit magic in Islam.
That's right. But what is magic?
Well, for example, I've read, for example, that Islam, Muslims are not really satisfied that whatever we as people who call Islam, because they know the exact definition of what is Islamic or what is non-Islamic. Like, for example, Shriners, people that wear a fez, and we consider them like, hey, they are Islamic, or they say that they're not Islamic. They Shriners, they but they still have the same symbols, wear the same symbols of Islam.
Well, there you go. I mean, what do you think the moon and the crescent moon and the stars is?
Well, I've heard that the crescent moon is actually not actually referring to the moon god. It actually refers to what was it, planet Venus. It's like the planet Venus was a crescent Venus, and the green color actually represented something, symbolizes.
Yeah, because Friday was for Venus. If anybody knows how the planets is, and even the days of the week are based on God's name, correct?
Hmm.
So therefore, Venus on the Friday was an Islamic day. I mean, you don't have to take my word for it. You can read al-Biruni. There's an Arab scholar writing back in the day called al-Biruni. His book is called The Book of Instructions in the Element and the Art of Astrology. And he will show you that, okay, the Muslims had Friday, which is Venus, the Jews had Saturday, which is Saturn, the Christians had Sunday, which is the Sunday. I mean, these are common themes. But when you speak about them today, people say, no, these are the dates. I'm like, these were common themes in Rome. I mean, anybody studied early Rome knows that these were common themes. They haven't changed today.
Yeah. I think that's a good. I think those are the exact things to have a good distinction about. Not to get confused, but because people will take a step back. It's like, hey, I got nothing to do with this, But what is it actually had to do with this? Because it's still called Sunday, it's still called Saturday. You know, I mean, I think that's a very good point. But it's like lost, it's quite lost in history. That people just kind of fuse it into something, they don't even know all the stuff about.
That's correct. And that's why sometimes when they talk about their literature, they have to talk about their literature in a certain aspect. Do you understand? But when you go back and you look what was going on when these literatures was being formed, that was the norm of the day. It wasn't a sinful thing to say there was more than one God. And if you say that today, people look on you like funny, like, no, there's only one true God. Well, if there's only one true God, then why have you got the Bible, one God in there, and then you've got another God in the Quran, which is a different God? And both of them came to a set of people, and he gave them two different laws. That doesn't seem like one God to me. So,
Yeah, well, I recognize that, there must be, I mean, in a hierarchy is not for nothing there. There must be one supreme being above all of them. But I do recognize there are a lot of gods. I mean, even if you look at in the dollar sign, it's like in God we trust, but what God do they refer to? I mean, it's like,
that's why I keep asking the question, like, what do you, when you say God, what do you mean by that?
yeah. It's all. I think it has a lot to do with the actions that actually give the particular god a reputation, and that is that type of god.
There you go.
Yeah. All right. So Joe Haslam enjoyed the chat. Maybe he wants to say something. Welcome, Joe.
Yeah, welcome everybody. Peace. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Peace to everyone panel. I'm aware of the work you're talking about, Shamsul Ma'arif, which means the son of Gnosis, and there's Biruni's work as well. These were works in occultism, which were actually read by the Brethren of Purity, Ikhwan Safa, and the full name is actually Ikhwan Safa wa Khullanul Wafa, which is the Brethren of Purity and the people of loyalty. So these were one of the epistles that they were actually reading. And there was also the famous Picatrix as well, which is a book on incantations and magic. Regarding alchemy as well, alchemy is obviously very rife in Islamic esoteric culture and even in the Arab world in general. And for example, the famous Ghazali, which I'm sure many of you will be aware of, he has a book called The Alchemy of Happiness, Alchemia Sa'adat, which he actually wrote in the Persian language. Now it's available in English as well, I believe, which the Cambridge Press has actually translated. And interestingly, one of the major figures of Islamic, the Sharia law, so to speak, the exoteric more so than the esoteric, has a dictionary of nomenclature, Islamic nomenclature. And under alchemy, he posits the different definitions of what the Muslim thinkers actually wrote. So many of them actually said it comes from the word black, where we know from the word Kemet. And so others actually said it comes from the Kim and Ya, i.e., from God. So yeah, there is plenty of discussion regarding alchemy, the different stages, the rubido, the negrido. Yeah, so I'll join in discussion whenever I feel like I've got something to input.
Yeah, thanks for that.
Yeah, I think Sufi Islam as well is quite linked to the occult and mystical practices, is it?
Yeah, that they are.
Because I read somewhere, like they have that dance. It's called the spinning dervishes.
That's correct. That's correct.
It's kind of like they're spinning around in ecstasy. But in a book somewhere, I read that what they're like, one way you can take it is that they make a circle and then they all spin around, and there is an occult idea called as above, so below.
Yeah, that's correct.
So it's like what's happening astrologically with the planets also plays out on Earth and has an effect on Earth.
That's correct.
So it's like when they're spinning around in a circle, they're kind of representing the planets that are orbiting around the sun and also spinning as well at the same time. So it's kind of like a dance to represent this idea that what's happening above us also happens below on the ground.
That's correct. And it's meant to have another meaning as well, because we all know as kids when we used to spin around in circles, what used to happen to us? We used to get dizzy and fall over, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that dance is what you said, but also supposed to have a magical effect on the initiate when they spin round, because when you spin like that, you get into a state of nothingness.
Mm-hmm.
You're not thinking about no bills coming through your door. You're not thinking about what your girlfriend is saying. Your mind's in a state of nothingness. And that's the point they want to bring you to. So all that kind of, people will say, oh, that's paganism, but this was for the initiates. And those who like the literal literature, they stick with the literal literature. But those who wanted to go further in the mysteries, they were initiated into those programs.
So it's kind of like when you're spinning around, you're kind of you're there in the now.
That's correct. That's correct.
Yeah, even in the Sufi tradition, one of the first stages which actually corresponds with the alchemical tradition is called tahliya, which is to empty yourself out.
That's correct.
Similar to the Tao in the Oriental traditions.
That's correct.
This sort of emptying out was often inscribed on their lodges. The phrase was used, kun la ka'annaka la takun, be as if you are not being, as if you are nothing, and absorb yourself into God, which they would call the term fana.
And in the Christian text, sorry, I don't mean to cut your wisdom, but in the Christian text, they would refer to that as you have to be baptized again. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay.
Rich Kid, have you read the book The Secret History of the World by Jonathan Black?
No, I can't say I have, but I've heard about the book though. I can't say I have.
Yeah, I'd recommend if anyone's into like the occult and that to look into that book. But in that book, it says that, I don't know if it's a Dead Sea Scroll or if it was in the Old Testament. I can't exactly remember if it was one of the two, but there was a ritual that Jesus and his disciples used to do where Jesus would stand in the middle and then his 12 disciples would surround him in a kind of dance and then sing a song. So what the book was referring to was that if we see Jesus as the Son of the world, and if we use a play on the word sun, being the physical sun that gives light, the 12 disciples would represent the planets. Obviously, there is only 8, but you could add moons and whatever else into there.
Well, let me ask you a question, Raspin.
Yes.
Because you said something. Do you know Manly P. Hall?
Yes.
Okay. In his works, he spoke about the upper room where Jesus spoke to his disciple. I've done this in the lecture the other day. And in the upper room, they refer that to, as you said earlier, so as above, so below. So they refer to the upper room as the brain, the skull, the head. And in the head, you have something that's called the thalamus. But of the thalamus, you have 12 nerve systems that run right throughout the body, and they bring the message up and down to the body. So in the occult, that's how we understood that. That's why I say to people, they didn't use 12 in the Bible for no reason. If you Google how much time 12 is used just throughout a short period of the Bible, you'll see that there's an issue with this number 12. So,
are you
have you heard of the 12 Imams?
No, but funny enough, I heard Kalam reading something on that, and I thought, that's interesting. The 12 Imams, the 12 disciples, everything is based on 12. And it's based on 12 for a reason.
Rich Kid, could I ask you a question?
Yeah, sure.
There's a bit of a dilemma here because after the 3rd century, like all the occultists and the magicians and people dabbling in magic and all that, they started to get hunted down and killed and persecuted. So what you're saying with the hypothalamus and all that, the authors of the Bible, would you say that they were occultists trying to keep their ideology alive by incorporating it into the stories which the mass public would be able to digest and accept? Because I guess if you suddenly started telling people, oh, by the way, guys, we're talking about the hypothalamus, they might just say, well, what the hell are you talking about?
Well, you know what, you're making a good point, because that's what I was saying earlier, that the person had to be initiated, because once you've spread the mysteries to the common people, it becomes prevalent. So therefore, scholars wouldn't just go in and say, listen, this part of the Bible, we're talking about astrology. Like, for instance, when Jesus was born in a manger, correct?
Yeah.
Okay, but the stars above Jesus in December was the constellation of Cancer.
Right.
But and anyone can go and research this. So once you see the constellation of Cancer, there's a group of stars in that constellation, small stars. A name for those stars were called the beehive, but another name for the stars were called the manger. So basically, we're only telling you that the sun in Capricorn, but its ascendant sign is Cancer.
Yeah,
This is what these mysteries were.
So I think that links back to the three wise kings, weren't they?
That's correct.
When they
so
stars as well.
The Bible didn't say 3 wise kings. The Bible, people say 3 because they're actually talking about the stars in Orion Belt. Because if you follow the stars in Orion Belt, then they lead you to where the sun is. So in order for them to note these things and to pass it down to other people and initiate, they had to tell them in stories. And then once you tell them in stories, people start taking the stories literally. But for those who were initiated, they knew what the stories meant. Let me give you another example. We all know about Little Red Riding Hood, correct? How many people heard that story? Most of us. But most of us know that, okay, there wasn't actually a wolf and there wasn't actually Little Red Riding Hood. But what was the story telling us? The story was telling us about a wolf who's blowing down a house to rape 2 females, because the red that represents Little Red Riding Hood was meant when a virgin loses her, when a girl loses her virginity, she bleeds. So in those kind of writings, nursery school writings, it seemed innocent when we're talking about a wolf blowing down a house, but the wolf is a sexual predator. Because when in England, when a girl used to lose her virginity, they used to say she lose her wolf, or she's been visited by the wolf. So you see, we can tell stories, but you have to look at the deeper meaning of what these stories mean.
What would you say, because this story has been like around for ages, but what would you say is the, if there is one, the occult meaning behind the story of Noah and the flood? If there
Noah and the flood, if you look at Noah and the flood, Abraham moving into Egypt, people always are moving. You could go into the Greek mythology and you can study Odysseus, and you'll see that Odysseus left this house and went out on an adventure for a short while, but it took him 20 years after going trials and tribulation to get back home. And this is what the human being is. You've come to this planet in your physical form. You're going to go through your trials and your tribulation, but one has to remain virtuous, because if you don't, you're going to be swallowed up by vices and so forth. So when people say, oh, when you die, you resurrect and you come back, why would you want to come back? And if the point of you coming back, if there's a point of you coming back, then there can't be a place called heaven, because you're obviously coming back here for some reason. It doesn't make sense. So what human beings are supposed to attain to is the highest virtue, because the gods are virtuous. You see?
So it's like the third eye is like our link to this new perception of kind of linking this world to the other worlds that are out there, right?
I didn't get that question.
So it's like the third eye is our link to the other worlds, or to see the world in a new way without being... ingrained by this physical matter that we exist in.
That's correct, because even the Bible states it, that the spirit wars against the flesh. So you see, what you create as your paradigm, you've created your own paradigm. But you see, to tell humans to chase virtue, most of them won't, because vice is much easier than virtue. See?
Because I've heard this story, but I don't like repeating it because where exactly it fits into the Bible, I'm not sure. But some people have written about it. But what they say is that the only animal that got left behind when Noah brought all the animals into the ark was the unicorn. Now, if we look at what the unicorn represents, it has the horn coming out the center of its head. So that would be a representation of the third eye. And what I've heard is that the story of Noah, what it's saying is that the world doesn't end when all this physical matter becomes destroyed and, you know, everyone loses their life. The only way the world ends is that when we stop using, or we forget, or leave behind the powers of our third eye. But you're gonna have to research that. But I've read that somewhere.
I wouldn't go with the unicorn story, because I don't really think the Bible said that there was unicorns in the boat. So for anyone reading the Bible, they'll probably disprove that. If somebody's trying
that's why I don't like. But it's out there, and it makes some sense to me. Like the world as we know it, like for an individual, it doesn't end when, you know, things get destroyed. It ends when we start losing the ability to use our third eye, which gives us a new perspective on life and the reality that we are confined in.
Well, like I said, most people misinterpret what the third eye is. As I was talking about the thalamus, if people kind of just study like a basic biology, you'll find out that the stories that sometimes link with these things are just telling you that as human beings, what you need to strive for is virtue. Because if most of us strive for virtue, we wouldn't have much problems in the world. But you see, most of our problems is based on vice, greed, envy, lust, all of these things. And today, as the Quran say, we would make evil fear seeming. So you're making evil seem like it's good, but evil is vice. But any one of the sages that you listen to will always tell you, as a human being, to be initiated and to attain to vice, virtue, it's a hard road. And most people, as I said, won't take that.
So is what you're saying is to understand the real meaning, or like the wider meaning of the Bible, you'd have to be an initiate?
No, not necessarily. You have to be an initiate to see what the Bible. You can read the Bible for itself, but let's be honest. I mean, once you start seeing things like donkeys talking, there's a snake in the garden, you have to understand that that has to be based on a metaphor or it's an allegory, because it can't be real, because in nature, snakes don't talk. Do you understand?
Yeah. Do you know what age Jesus died at? What the age is?
According to the scriptures, he was 33 years old.
Yeah, because 33 is a very highly regarded number, isn't it?
It's a Masonic number, yes.
It's a Masonic.
It's 3 + 3 is 6, which 6 is a unique number as well.
How is 6 a unique number?
6, you get 1. What you get 1 + 2 + 3 is 6. 2 + 2 + 2 is 6. No other kind of number does that. So when they give you the number 666 in the Bible, 666 is to scare you, because everyone says, oh, that's the number of the devil. But in the Greek, and even according to Bar Ehrman, the number is not 666, it's 661. So I don't know really why people keep propagating the devil's number is 666.
I think what exactly is the number 33 supposed to represent? Like, what's the big deal behind why is it so popular amongst Masons? And
it's the highest degree in Masonry.
In Hinduism, there's 33 gods. Some say 33 million, but they can cancel it down to 33 main gods. And for example, in the human vertebrae, there's 33 bones in your spine, which leads up to the pineal gland at the back of your head. What is this? Do you know what is this big thing about 33 like?
Well, like I said, 33 is 6, and 33 is the highest degree you can reach in the mysteries. So once you reach that degree, it's like Kalam was reading out certain things earlier. Even when you read the Bible, certain things are done by alphanumeric. You look at the Hebrew number, the Hebrew alphabet is alphanumeric. So you find out that each one of them has a number to it. So even by codes, they used to write by numbers and codes. You understand? It's for you to kind of delve deeper into certain books to find out what they were actually saying about 33, 32, and why these are the number of man. I think you have, if not mistaken, it's either 32 or 33 teats in your head when you're born. But I think it's 32, not actually 33.
So it's like back in ancient times, numbers had more of a meaning than they do now, because now we just use them to count things and, you know, say how much there is of something. But back then,
the layman, you see, the lay person, the every day-to-day person, we don't think much of numbers, but as you wake up, you're dealing with numbers.
The universe
and you've got normal numbers, and you've got some what they call prime numbers, and most people don't use the prime numbers. Just for a case, if you look at most of the lottery numbers that come up, most of them are prime numbers and not normal numbers.
I think nature runs off numbers as well, right?
That's right.
It's the Fibonacci sequence.
That's correct.
But the story of Jesus dying at 33, that must be a reason.
Yeah, I don't really want to say certain things because I just might get people upset, so I'll keep that for now.
Yeah, because what I heard about Jesus dying at 33 is that once an initiate, or once someone that is involved in this occult lifestyle, like once you attain what this number 33 represents, you then no longer need your physical body, and you're able to ascend into the next stage of this reality that we're in. That's what I heard. That's what Jesus dying at 33 represents. Once he's reached that Christ consciousness where he's followed all the virtues and he's pure in mind, he no longer needs the physical body to progress in this.
Or maybe the physical death could just be a metaphor to say you've attained, because when you say you've reached the highest level, what you're saying is you're not a slave no more to the physical body.
Right.
Like lust, greed, you're not serving the body, because 98% of the things we do is for the body. And so we know that the body itself has a law. But when you say to people, well, what's the law for the soul? They can't answer you. Because most of the time we live in vice. And we want things what the body wants. Nice car, nice house, money. All of these things lead you into vice. You've got people who've got multi-million pounds in their bank account, but yet still you find out that they're still robbing people for more money. It's like, how much do you want? You see, they can't attend to anything virtuous, so their road is vice. And this is what most of the sages were telling you. Put away vice and attain to virtue, because the God loved virtuous things. That's the message.
Just back to that initial question. So do you think that initiates have written the Bible to keep their ideas alive, but also to protect themselves from persecution against theologians and Jews and other people living in the time?
I couldn't comment on that.
Because that's what confused me, isn't it? Like, all this, like, why didn't they just write these philosophies and keep them somewhere? And what's with the whole putting them in stories? And
well, you know what I'll say to anyone? I'll say to anyone, if you want to kind of get a basis of what was going on, just read Plato's Republic. Just read up to like book 4, book 5. You'll find it interesting, and you'll see Socrates was discussing a lot of these things that people are asking today. And because he was getting on certain people's nerves or kind of exposing them, that's why he died.
It's weird. Like today, most Abrahamic faiths would persecute occultists and say, you know, they're working with the devil, they're black magic and all of this. But if you look back, probably most of those prophets had gone to mystery schools and had been initiated into the exact things that these occultists are preaching now.
And like I said, if you study anything from the 1st century and you see how Christianity started, I mean, seriously, you can't really accuse us of those things, because you just have to look how Christianity started. I mean, was Constantine, wasn't it Constantine who said that he had a dream and he saw? I mean, Constantine is a man who boiled his wife and his kids. They were killing anyone with different point of view in the first, second century when they got power. Anyone that sounded like they had paganistic views, they will kill them. There weren't no Jesus would love you and this and that in the first century. They were killing them. So to this day, when they move up into this century and they're teaching you this love, Christianity is about love, Islam is about love. This is not how these religions started. They started by killing and murdering. It's a fact.
So then this is the quite interesting part. I would say, the thing what you said, the dream about this Constantine. He was an empire, right? He was an emperor of Rome, wasn't he?
Yeah, at the time he was, I think, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that actually those elders in the first century Christian congregation, uh, I think I'm gonna skip a lot of stuff or going back and forth trying to make a point here, but it's like the elders actually from the Christian congregation, I thought they actually started to look into philosophy from Plato and Socrates, and they wanted to make name for themselves, but it actually wasn't biblical because Socrates and Plato were actually just worldly philosophers, and they had nothing to do with the Bible. And so they took that step and actually became those wolves and sheep clothes. In that sense, um they wanted everybody else to add this faith, this new faith. And actually that's why I believe that how Catholicism started, because also the meddling of Constantine, fusing religion and politics together and make it actually a world power. Actually, the whole idea was um, the because of the Roman Empire was actually disappearing slowly. There was like this the Roman Empire spirit still uh, that was still there after the fall of this world power, and so they still had an influence in this Catholic religion. But next to that is that actually these elders also they 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 just pillaged, or how do I say, they actually they put these Christians that didn't want to follow, or because there were heavily discussions about Trinity also and unity. They were actually been put in arenas or colosseums, and they being you know yeah, they just being punished or being killed and all that. They be slaughtered, like being eaten by dogs alive in front of a crowd. So I think that's an interesting one because
Rich
you are
Kid?
also. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Rich Kid, as we I was listening there, I have a question that came up in my mind. Can you give me a little could you explain to me how human being came about based on your study?
Rich kid.
If I told you how human beings come about, I'll be one of the greatest sages. So I'm just going to bow out and say there's many theories, but no one I think can tell you specifically how we came to be. I wouldn't really like to attempt it.
Okay. How about Kalam?
Kalam I can tell you. He's much wiser than
Jeez. Boy, the way that human beings came about.
Yes, Kalam. Tell me about that.
Was simply by my will. I said, let human beings be.
Come on, Kalam.
It was. Oh man. Yo, family. I want to shut down the show, yeah, because we've gone over the 2-hour mark. We was only meant to be here for an hour. We was only meant to be discussing the whole Mohammad Hijab and David Wood, Tawheed and Trinity. I know we've drifted off into all manners of conversations, but I wanted to just sit back and just kind of chill right about now instead of having this flowing and going. But if there's anything else that we need to say in the last 5 minutes or so, let's drop that knowledge, man. Let's drop that knowledge.
I've got a quick question. I want to know what's the significance of 444.
Jeez. You have to go to like red pill for that one.
Okay. Okay.
You know who red pill is, right? Blue pill.
Yeah.
They've been dropping that for a hot minute now. So I would say you go there, but it ties into the fourth dimension and the one who governs that, which is Lord Jehuti and Michael or Michael and so forth. If you, that's like far esoteric knowledge. I don't even want to touch on that right now.
Fair enough.
I would say if you want to speak to someone on this, it would be red pill, blue pill. You can also speak to Gano Grills. And I'm pretty sure Rich Kid can break this down as well.
Yeah, I had a question for Rich Kid because I got caught up. So Rich, did you quite follow what I was saying about this Catholic religion, how it started? Because I think that was interesting what you said.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. I understand what you said. Constantine realized that the Christians were taking over the empire, and just to get political power, he started to switch to Christianity because they were basically taking over Rome at the time.
Yeah.
So he was the kind of like the champion for that cause at the time. But if anybody read anything on Constantine, they know what kind of person he was. And just to answer Inyan, you was asking about how human beings came. According to Origin, he said that God created a group of beings called Logica. And he said these beings were made of light. And he said that they gave them a certain portion. And this kind of goes into our text as well. But like I said, it's just his hypothesis. And he's saying that these beings, they were given certain places to govern. And then I think they broke certain laws and they were then housed in bodies. And when the church heard that, they kicked him out for heretic or for heresy. So that was one way he was saying that humans came to be.
Okay. Thank you, bro.
Oh, man. What we saying, family? Any last dying comments or questions or topics before we shut it down?
Well, I just want to give a special thanks for you guys. I feel very good to be on the chat. I learn, and if I have any question, I will ask. But one thing I would like to say is that any person that in the church, they need to come out in this box because most of the time we in the church, sometimes we in a box and we think we have it all. And when we look carefully, there's a lot of things we don't know. So sometimes, like the level that you guys is, I cannot come between you all. I just have to listen.
Love, that's love right there. Still appreciate that.
Don't
That's the far right. Dante says, we have always been here embodied in the metaphysics. Anybody else that wants to say something and us read out, simply type Titans TV before we actually shut down the show. Let's get it, family. Shouts out to my queen. How are ya? Shouts out to you, queen. I see you. Joe Haslam, are you up in here?
Yeah, peace, King.
Oh, man. Assalamu alaikum. What's good?
Salam, Sheikh.
Oh, man. I love it when you pass through, man. I could just imagine the type of knowledge that you was dropping. Unfortunately, I wasn't here to listen in, but I already know. I was listening in spirit, so my spirit knows.
Disgusting. Thanks for the platform as well.
No doubt. K Ferrari says, Kalam, I love that show. Big thank you. Salute to you, King. Yeah, buddy. Yeah, man. Hit up the like button, show some love, show some support. And trust me, man, every like button hits or kills off a hater. All right. So let's just destroy all the haters by hitting the like button and showing some love. Okay. Rich Kid, we're gonna have to get another show with you. I need to get you as like a weekly fixture up in here, like every Tuesday or Wednesday or something. You need to have a show ready for us.
We have the pressure coming
I already told everybody, right? This platform is your platform, right? I'm saying everybody who's choosing on the panel right now, it's your platform. Whatever you guys want, right? We're just here to facilitate it for you guys. Titans TV is for the Titans. So let's get it.
Yeah, respect.
All right, family, I'm going to shut down the show. But of course, if you want to get involved with the dialogue that we're going to be having off air, please click the link, join in with us. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the other side. Salute, love, peace, and